Chapter 9-10. The longer the three top forces waited in Mukin County, the more embarrassed they would be. They were here to attack the Bloodrobe Pavilion, but they did not dare to make a move in their own territory. This meant that they were afraid. Moreover, there were rumors that they had disrupted the order of Mukin County, causing the people to suffer. Occasionally, disciples of the Bloodrobe Pavilion would even come to assassinate them. The Bloodrobe Pavilion specifically picked on those second- and third-rate sects, causing the low-level disciples of the entire Subjugation Alliance to panic. Seeing that the alliance was becoming more and more loose, Evil Heart Sword Master could no longer hold it in. He persuaded Huangfu Yuanjie and Qi Mu to attack the Bloodrobe Pavilion today. The next day, the three top sects led tens of thousands of experts to the Bloodrobe Pavilion. In the Bloodrobe Pavilion, the higher-ups were also a little confused. They had expected that once they started the attack, the number of people who would come to besiege them would be at least several times more than now. When the three sects arrived in Mukin County, all of their movements were under the surveillance of the Bloodrobe Pavilion. At first, the Bloodrobe Pavilion thought that the other party was deliberately deceiving them and hiding more experts. However, after such a long time, the Bloodrobe Pavilion did not find any clues even after investigating those people. In other words, only these people came to attack them this time. Did they overestimate the influence of the Bloodrobe Pavilion? Or did they overestimate the backbone of the sects in the world? Of course, all of this was the best for the Bloodrobe Pavilion. If it was just dealing with the enemies in front of them, they were absolutely confident. The fact that not many sects came to Mukin County seemed a little strange, but in fact, it was the result of the Bloodrobe Pavilion's 100 years of planning. The forces in the eastern and western provinces of the Thunderfire dynasty were stopped by the Lung Shiqi. The forces in the north and south were invaded by the Bloodrobe Pavilion for many years, such as the Supreme Saber Hall and the Purgatory Demon sect where Yushu and Xiongming were. There were also a few top forces that were allies of the Bloodrobe Pavilion, the Liuha spiritual region. It could be said that the Bloodrobe Pavilion had affected the entire Thunderfire dynasty's forces this time. It could be seen that the Blood Seed plan was indeed very useful. Of course, the Lung Shiqi had risen too quickly. Otherwise, the Blood Seed plan would have to continue for hundreds of years to reach its current situation. The location of the Bloodrobe Pavilion's sect was rather secretive, and there was also a formation concealing it. Ordinary spirit cultivators would not be able to discover it. However, the three sects had come prepared. They had bought information from the Wind Whispering Tower at a high price. With the help of several Sky Origin stage cultivators, they had broken the formation and exposed the Blood Garment Pavilion. Swordmaster Xie Xian pointed his longsword at Yi Futian in high spirits. However, when he saw the many experts of the Bloodrobe Pavilion, his expression stiffened. At this moment, there were thousands of assassins in blood-red clothes and masks standing in front of him. They were filled with murderous intent. Behind them, there were tens of thousands of black-clothed assassins with cold expressions. In terms of low and middle-level spirit cultivator, the Bloodrobe Pavilion was actually not much less than the Alliance. Moreover, the disciples of the Blood Cloak Pavilion had experienced countless life-and-death battles. Their combat prowess was naturally far superior to those of ordinary sections. What shocked Sword Master Xie Xian and the others the most were the 8 figures standing in the air. The Pavilion Master of the Bloodrobe Pavilion, Hateful Blade. Vice Pavilion Master, Black Frost Ghost. The Disciplinary Elder, Bone Demon. The hidden experts of the previous generation were Elder Gu and Elder Mu. Beside Elder Mu was a golden puppet that was dozens of feet tall. It was also floating in the air. It was the supreme puppet that he had spent his entire life to create, Big Gold. Other than these people, Wu Xiang and Hua Luiyue stood at the sides. They were both newly advanced Sky Origin stage cultivators. These 8 Sky Origin stage cultivators shocked everyone. Outsiders only knew that the Bloodrobe Pavilion had 3 Sky Origin stage cultivators. Even if there were 1 or 2 hidden old fellows, it was still within the acceptable range. But now? Good heavens, 8 of them, 8 of them. Their so-called alliance only had 10 Sky Origin stage cultivators. It looked like there were 2 more, but in a battle between Sky Origin stage cultivators, unless there was a huge disparity in strength, It would be very difficult to kill each other. Sword Master Xie Xian compared the strength of both sides. He realized that his side was indeed stronger, but at most they were stronger by 30%. With this strength, it was almost impossible to destroy the Blood Robe Pavilion. The high spirits from before had completely disappeared. If they could not destroy the Blood Robe Pavilion, they would become the laughingstock of the world. However, if they fought forcefully, as Chi Mu said, they would only suffer heavy losses and might not be able to take down the Blood Robe Pavilion. Their current situation could only be described as being in a dilemma. At that moment, two more people appeared in the void. They were recognized as soon as they appeared. Chi Mu said in surprise, "It's Elder Xiao and Elder Lin from the 6 Directions Spiritual Region. The 4 Directions Spiritual Region is here." "That's great." Sword Master Xie Xian was delighted. However, Elder Xiao said, "Everyone, the Blood Robe Pavilion has some ties with the 6 Directions Spiritual Region. For the sake of the 6 Directions Spiritual Region, you should retreat." What? The 3 top sects, including everyone else, were stunned. The 6 Directions Spiritual Region was on the Blood Robe Pavilion's side. In their impression, the 6 Directions Spiritual Region was the most orthodox force. How could they collude with the Blood Robe Pavilion? For a moment, everyone thought that they had heard wrongly. Elder Xiao originally did not want to appear. It was enough for the 6 Directions Spiritual Region to secretly help the Blood Robe Pavilion. However, when he told the situation here to 6 Directions Spiritual Sovereign, 6 Directions Spiritual Sovereign asked him to appear and force the 3 sects to retreat. Even though Sword Master Xie Xian and the others did not know the 6 Directions Spiritual Region's intentions, after Elder Xiao and Elder Lin joined, the two-side Sky Origin Realm combat power was equal. There was no hope of destroying the Blood Robe Pavilion. Moreover, the 6 Directions Spiritual Region was a transcendent force. Who would dare to attack them? It seemed that the only path left for them was to retreat with their heads covered in dirt. Sword Master Xie Xian was unwilling to accept this. He could not understand why there were not many sects that came to attack the Blood Robe Pavilion, which was hated by everyone. Why would the 6 Directions Spiritual Region support the Blood Robe Pavilion? Seeing that Huangfu Yuanjia and the others did not respond, Elder Xiao frowned slightly. "Why? Do you want to experience the 6 Directions Spiritual Region's divine art?" Chi Mu immediately smiled. "Elder Xiao, you must be joking. The 6 Directions Spiritual Region is where we aspire to be. We will retreat." Then he pulled the helpless Sword Master Xie Xian and Huangfu Yuanjia and quickly retreated. The tens of thousands of sect disciples also retreated like the tide. The siege of the Blood Robe Pavilion ended so abruptly with a strong start and a weak finish. One could imagine that in the near future, the 3 top forces of the Huangfu family would be swept away and would no longer have the face to see others. The Blood Robe Pavilion was also a little confused. Every one of them came to this battle with the awareness that they would die. However, it was over before the battle even started. They had planned for 100 years and staked everything on a single throw, but it was completed as easily as eating and drinking. It was too unreal. However, Pavilion Master Hen Dao and the others looked at Elder Xiao at the same time. Chapter 9:11. According to the agreement between the Blood Robe Pavilion and the 6 Directions Spiritual Zone, the 6 Directions Spiritual Zone did not need to show up. It was Elder Xiao and Elder Lin who used their divine origin realm power, and the 6 Directions Spiritual Zone's might to force Sword Master Evil Heart and the others to retreat. However, this exposed the 6 Directions Spiritual Zone. Hatred Blade did not understand how this would benefit the 6 Directions Spiritual Zone. He needed an explanation. Elder Xiao felt his scalp go numb from Hatred Blade's stare. He knew that he was no match for Hatred Blade, but he also did not know why 6 Directions Spiritual Sovereign wanted him to do this. Therefore, he could only laugh dryly and say, "Pavilion Master Hatred Blade, I was only following orders. Now that the Blood Robe Pavilion has easily survived this crisis and is publicly established in the world, congratulations." Hatred Blade firmly believed that there was no such thing as a free lunch in the world. He asked, "Where is 6 Directions Spiritual Sovereign? I want to see him." Elder Xiao stuttered. Suddenly, Divine light bloomed in midair. Circles of dazzling light circled and condensed into something like a passageway. Then, a dignified and arrogant voice sounded. I'm here. Six Directions' spiritual sovereign had crossed thousands of miles, and personally arrived at the Bloodrobe Pavilion. He was surrounded by the power of laws, and his aura soared into the sky aggressively. Hatred Blade instantly felt as if he was facing a great enemy. He actually sensed a trace of killing intent from Six Directions' spiritual sovereign. Hatred Blade, I underestimated you and the Bloodrobe Pavilion. I didn't expect the Bloodrobe Pavilion to have such a great influence in the dark that you can actually stop more than half of the top sects in the world. This is good as well. It saves me a lot of effort. Black Frost's ghostly man could see that Six Directions' spiritual sovereign had come with ill intentions. Six Directions' spiritual sovereign, we have already agreed that if you help us survive this crisis, we will help you deal with the people you want to deal with. What are you trying to do now? Six Directions' spiritual sovereign said coldly. How can the Four Directions' spiritual zone ally with a dirty force like the Bloodrobe Pavilion? Today, I will represent the righteous path in the world and destroy the Bloodrobe Pavilion. He waved his hand, and the world shook. Boundless divine power surged as if he was the god of this world. Unless you all are willing to submit to this exalted, only death awaits you. Black Frost's ghostly man bellowed furiously. What an evil dog-eat-dog. You forced the three sects to retreat, because you want to monopolize my Blood Garment Pavilion. It turned out that the Leoha spiritual region had such a good plan. Not only could they shut the mouths of everyone in the world, they could also take over the Bloodrobe Pavilion. If the Six Directions spiritual region could possess a sword like the Blood Cloak Pavilion, many things that were difficult to do in the past could be easily done. Especially those shameful things. Hendao looked straight at Six Directions' spiritual supremacy. There was only a cold glint in his eyes as he slowly said, on what basis? Why? Ha ha ha. Six Directions' spiritual senior laughed loudly. I alone can wipe out your entire Bloodrobe Pavilion. Then the hateful blade suddenly slashed out. This saber strike did not have a shocking saber ray, but it passed through space like a ghost and instantly slashed in front of Six Directions' spiritual supremacy. The corner of Six Directions' spiritual supremacy's mouth curled up into a cold smile. He was secretly mocking the saber for overestimating itself. However, in the next moment, his eyes suddenly lost focus for a moment. Although it was only for a short moment, the saber light had broken through his protective divine light. Bang! Then the strange thing was that Six Directions' spiritual supremacy was unscathed. However, the hateful blade's body was violently sent flying by an invisible force. Blood scattered with the wind. Hateful Blade was on the verge of death. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Pavilion Master. Ink Frost's ghostly being dodged and caught the hateful blade. The others looked at Six Directions' spiritual supremacy with murderous intent. Six Directions' spiritual supremacy's expression was very ugly. He had actually been ambushed by a mere heavenly origin realm cultivator. He said coldly, you have some ability. If you were given a few more decades, you might have a chance to continue breaking through. Unfortunately, you must die today. The members of the Bloodrobe Pavilion would never have thought that the people who came to attack them would retreat on their own accord. However, their ally had become their greatest enemy. The mystic comprehending realm Six Directions' spiritual supremacy was unstoppable. Even the strongest hateful blade had been crippled in one move. What did they have to fight against Six Directions' spiritual supremacy? Six Directions' spiritual supremacy alone was more terrifying than several top sects. I will give you one last chance. Submit or die. As soon as he finished speaking, endless extreme Een sword chi suddenly exploded in the sky. The terrifying evil Een energy darkened the sky and earth, stirring up the power of law as it attacked Six Directions' spiritual supremacy. Only a mystic comprehending realm cultivator could stir up the power of law. No one had expected a mystic comprehending realm cultivator to ambush Six Directions' spiritual supremacy at this time. Six Directions' spiritual supremacy was shocked at first. Then his expression became calm. It was only when the sword intent was about to reach him that he uttered a strange syllable. No one knew what it meant. At this moment, Supreme heavens appeared around 6 directions spiritual supremacy, and there was a god in each of the heavens. Those gods formed seals with their hands and suppressed the heavens and earth with their bodies. No matter how powerful the extreme Yin sword chi was, it was all destroyed by this suppressive force and turned into nothingness. The members of the Blood Robe Pavilion retreated continuously with ashen expressions. This was the true strength of a 6 directions spiritual supremacy. It turned out that defeating Hateful Blade was just a casual move. A vertical eye appeared on 6 directions spiritual supremacy's forehead and scanned the surroundings. However, he did not seem to discover anything. He frowned and said, "There are not many people in this world who can master this sword intent that is closest to death. Which old friend of mine is it? Show yourself." However, what answered him was another saber gleam. In an instant, 3 saber gleams flashed for thousands of miles. The saber transformed into the 3 realms: the immortal realm, the devil realm, and the Buddha realm. Gods, ghosts, and Buddhas. These 3 completely different powers merged into one. The most powerful saber slashed the heavens and decimated the earth. The numerous heavens formed by 6 directions spiritual supremacy shattered one after another. His expression did not change as he took a step forward. Thousands of rays of divine light bloomed behind him. In an instant, divine dragons shook the heavens and soared for thousands of miles. In the blink of an eye, he passed through the saber of the 3 realms. When his palm landed, the might of the dragon realm blasted into nothingness. After a deafening boom, a mysterious person who was shrouded in black chi appeared. "You are finally willing to show yourself. Who are you?" 6 directions spiritual supremacy stared at this person, and the figures of mystic comprehending realm cultivators flashed across his mind. However, none of them matched the person in front of him. From the previous 2 exchanges, this mysterious expert was not weaker than him. The members of the Blood Robe Pavilion were also very surprised. This mysterious expert was obviously here to deal with 6 directions spiritual supremacy. They were not sure if this person was helping the Blood Robe Pavilion, but from the looks of it, the situation was extremely advantageous for the Blood Robe Pavilion. Among the crowd, only Wu Xiang was deep in thought. He had actually seen Leng Shiqi's shadow in the previous saber strike. However, he did not dare to believe that his disciple was in the mystic comprehending realm. How old was Leng Shiqi? He was only in his 20s. Being able to break through to the spiritual pulse realm at such a young age was already shocking enough. How could he be in the mystic comprehending realm? He must be crazy. However, when Wu Xiang thought of Leng Shiqi's confidence in the underworld, he was slightly shaken. This disciple of his was too mysterious. No one could tell what would happen to him. Chapter 9:12. This mysterious person was naturally Leng Shiqi. He had been secretly observing the situation in the Blood Garment Pavilion. For some reason, 6 directions spiritual sovereign had changed his mind and wanted to enter the Blood Garment Pavilion personally. The Blood Garment Pavilion was already Leng Shiqi's, so how could he give it to 6 directions spiritual sovereign? Thus he made his move. Leng Shiqi could not use his identity as the master of samsara, or else he would be associated with the Thunderfire dynasty. He could only give up on using the law of samsara and use 6 directions spiritual sovereign to test his strength. 6 directions spiritual sovereign did not have the confidence to defeat Leng Shiqi, so he could only test him first. "Who are you? Why are you making an enemy out of me?" Leng Shiqi cupped his hands and said, 6 directions spiritual sovereign's name is known all over the world. A nobody like me is not worth mentioning. I have no intention of making an enemy out of you, but I owe the Blood Garment Pavilion a favor. Please forgive me for offending you this time. His words sounded polite, but his tone was unyielding. This made 6 directions spiritual sovereign, who had always been high and mighty, unhappy. If that's the case, then let's see if you really have the ability to protect the Blood Garment Pavilion. 6 directions spiritual sovereign waved his hand, and the heavenly illusions gathered again. However, this time, the heavenly illusions finally condensed into 6 gigantic divine statues that were hundreds of meters tall. Each divine statue had a terrifying energy aura that could even interfere with the laws of heaven and earth. This was one of the most powerful inheritances in the Six Directions spiritual zone. The Six Directions divine statue. The higher-ups of the Blood Garment Pavilion also recognized it, and they could not help but exclaim, "That's the Six Directions divine statue." Legend has it that Six Directions Holy Sovereign once killed a divine spirit expert from the Star Tribe with it. Be serious now. Retreat quickly and activate the sect protection formation. Lung Shiqi also felt the immense pressure. Suddenly, the image of a dragon flying and a phoenix dancing appeared around him. The dragon soared to the 9 heavens, and the phoenix soared to the universe. Waves of violent energy surged through his entire body. Not only that, but illusions of wolves, golden rocks, black tortoises, divine deer, and so on appeared in the sky as if thousands of beasts had gathered. Immediately after, the illusions of divine beasts that filled the sky instantly returned to Lung Shiqi's body. At this moment, his body was shrouded in various colors of light. They were ancient, mottled, mysterious, and contained boundless power. His eyes flickered, and in that instant, heaven and earth trembled. Even though he was a Six Directions spiritual supremacy, he still felt like he was facing thousands of primordial demonic beasts. Seeing this scene, Wu Xiang was finally certain that the person who was fighting with Six Directions spiritual supremacy was Lung Shiqi. Even though he had already guessed it, he was still shocked when he confirmed it. That young man who had slaughtered his way out of Bloodmist Island a few years ago had actually become an existence that he had to look up to. The Six Directions spirit venerable seals changed, and the 6 god statues landed palm after palm, punch after punch. The power that soared into the sky seemed to be endless. The space within a radius of 10,000 miles was trembling, and there were faint signs of it collapsing. Lung Shiqi, on the other hand, simply threw a punch without using any spiritual techniques or the power of laws. However, in the next instant, it was as if this punch was the only thing in this world. The force of the punch tore through the air, and directly shattered one of the divine statues of the Six Directions spiritual supremacy. Six Directions spiritual sovereign raised his eyebrows. He was most aware of how powerful the Six Directions divine statues were. Although these divine statues were not real, they were tougher than anything in the world. However, at this moment, one of them had been shattered by a single punch. He could not help but be shocked. What a powerful physical strength! Lung Shiqi had used brute force to break through the technique, and he had used the strength of his physical body to gain the upper hand. However, a few cracks had appeared on his fist. He could already confirm that his physical strength was comparable to that of a mystic comprehending realm cultivator. Since he had already tested it, he could not be too restrained. A golden-winged rock appeared behind him, and with a swipe of its claws, it tore apart the heavens and earth. What was even more terrifying was that this swipe was extremely fast. It was so fast that even the Six Directions spiritual sovereign could not capture Lung Shiqi's figure with his vertical pupil. Caught off guard, another god statue was shattered into pieces. The Six Directions divine statues complemented each other. After losing 2 god statues in a row, the remaining 4 were greatly weakened, and Six Directions spiritual sovereign could only retreat temporarily. This was the first time he had chosen to retreat. However, Lung Shiqi was not going to let him off after gaining the upper hand. He used his Fire Phoenix Dharma power, and his entire body turned into boundless flames that sealed the space, turning the area within a radius of a few thousand miles into a purgatory. You've gone too far. Six Directions spiritual sovereign was completely enraged. He pointed a finger, and a divine light that covered the sky quickly repelled all the flames. He chanted a mystical syllable, and the divine light in the sky condensed into a giant mouth that reached the heavens. The giant mouth grew larger and larger, until it seemed like it was going to swallow the heavens and the earth. It actually swallowed Lung Shiqi's inferno in one gulp. Roar! The instant the inferno was extinguished, 10 consecutive dragon roars pierced through the clouds. At this moment, 10 divine dragons of different forms were swimming around Lung Shiqi, and they were extremely powerful. He chuckled and said, "Six Directions spiritual sovereign, are you satisfied with my strength?" Six Directions spiritual sovereign's expression was solemn. Lung Shiqi's strength had indeed surprised him. Not only was he proficient in saber and sword techniques, but his physical strength was also the most terrifying. The two of them could be considered evenly matched. One had to know that Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign belonged to the upper group of mystic comprehending realm cultivators. However, Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign had never heard of a mystic comprehending realm cultivator who cultivated the physical body. Where did this person come from? He also knew that it was impossible for the two of them to fight to the death, so there was no way to determine the true victor. This time he had failed again. Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign was extremely depressed. Previously, he had joined forces with many experts from the top sects to break into the imperial capital of the Thunderblaze dynasty. Just as he was about to succeed, a mystic comprehending realm cultivator, who cultivated the law of earth, had appeared and directly ruined his plans. This time, he had planned to take over the Blood Garment Pavilion, but another mystic comprehending realm cultivator had appeared. As a result, Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign felt that his luck was too bad. Of course, he did not know that the person who had ruined his plans twice was actually the same person. Very good. I did not expect such a powerful expert to appear on the continent. I would like to see if you can protect the Blood Garment Pavilion for a while, but can you protect it forever? Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign coldly glanced at Lung Shiqi and the few higher-ups of the Blood Garment Pavilion before disappearing in a flash of divine light. After Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign left, everyone in the Blood Garment Pavilion heaved a sigh of relief. This mystic comprehending realm cultivator had given them too much pressure. The Vice Pavilion Master, Inkfrost Ghostly Man, first ordered someone to bring Hateful Saber away to treat his injuries. He then walked over to Lung Shiqi with a few Heavenly Origin realm cultivators. The few of them bowed and said, "Thank you for saving our lives, Senior. The Blood Garment Pavilion is unable to repay you." "It's nothing. I was only entrusted with the task. If you want to thank someone, you should thank your own family." Also, Six Directions Spiritual Sovereign is right. I can only protect you this time. You should think about what to do next time. Farewell. Senior, please wait. May I ask who asked you to help? Inkfrost Ghostly Man could not help but shout. However, the mysterious expert had already left and only left behind a single word: King. Chapter 913. King. What did that mean? Was it a disciple of the Blood Garment Pavilion with the surname Wang? Or was there a king in his code name? Wu Xiang immediately knew what it meant. Was this not referring to the king of the Western Wilderness, Lung Shiqi? He finally understood everything from the beginning. Lung Shiqi might have thought that it was inconvenient for him to appear directly. Otherwise, it would be too ridiculous. Lung Shiqi did not want to give up the credit of helping the Blood Garment Pavilion survive this disaster. That was why he did this. Wu Xiang recalled that Lung Shiqi had asked for the position of a pavilion leader candidate. He seemed to have understood Lung Shiqi's plan. A glint flashed across the Inkfrost Ghost's eyes. He vaguely thought of Lung Shiqi, but the pavilion leader's injuries were more important now. He said, "Don't make wild guesses. Let's check on the pavilion leader's injuries." At the mention of the pavilion leader, everyone tensed up and hurried back to the sect. At this moment, Hateful Blade was lying on a stone bed, and Elder Mu was treating his injuries. After everyone entered, Elder Mu said softly, "The pavilion leader's meridians are all shattered. Fortunately, his heart meridian was protected and his life was temporarily saved. However, at this point he seemed to want to say something but stopped himself. This made the others very anxious. Elder Gu said angrily, "Old Wood, why are you still keeping us in suspense? Hurry up and say it." Sai, the one who attacked, was a Six Directions Spirit Supremacy. Even if the pavilion leader protected his heart meridian with all his might, there was still a weak power of law that could not be removed. It won't be long before the pavilion leader's heart meridian is completely destroyed and he will die. That despicable Six Directions Spirit Supremacy. To think that we trusted him. Alright, this is the law of the jungle. Now, let's think of a way to save the pavilion leader. We're best at killing people. Elder Mu is the best at saving people in the sect. Elder Mu, what do you think we should do? Elder Mu pondered for a moment and said, "There are two ways we can try. First, if we combine our strength, we might be able to pull out that weak power of law. However, there can't be any mistakes in the process. Otherwise, we will personally kill the pavilion leader. No. Elderbone immediately objected. Like I said just now, we're the best at killing people. The art and spirit skills that we cultivate are all focused on explosive power. With so many people, it's impossible for us to be that precise. What's the other way? Also, the two of us can forcefully guard the pavilion master's heart meridian. However, this will consume a lot of our cultivation base. Furthermore, we can't maintain it for long. At most, we can only delay it for 1 or 2 years. That's fine too. Now you and I will protect the pavilion master's heart veins. The rest of you will split up. Elder Gu turned around and said, Black Frost Ghost Man and Littlebone will stay behind to take care of the situation. Although the sect has survived this crisis, it does not mean that there will be fewer troubles in the future. Wu Xiang and Hua Luiyue will spare no effort to find someone who can save the pavilion master. The time limit is 3 months. After 3 months we will switch. Everyone nodded when they heard this. This seemed to be the best solution. At this moment Wu Xiang stuck his head out and said, Lord Bone Elder. Elder Bone flicked his sleeve and said unhappily, If you have something to say, just say it. Don't be so hesitant. Wu Xiang was already in the Heaven Origin realm, but he was still like an ordinary disciple in front of Elder Bone. He laughed and said, I want to say that I know someone who might be able to save the pavilion master. Everyone immediately looked at him. Elder Bone even pressed on Wu Xiang's shoulder and asked excitedly, Who is it? Say it. It's my disciple Leng Shiqi. Leng Shiqi? Everyone present naturally knew the importance of Leng Shiqi in the Bloodseed plan. None of the top forces of the Thunderblaze dynasty's 9 eastern counties came. That was all thanks to Leng Shiqi. They also knew that Leng Shiqi had broken through to the Heaven Origin realm not long ago. His talent was monstrous. However, this was not enough to save the pavilion master, right? Could it be that this person was also a divine doctor? Everyone looked puzzled. Wu Xiang explained, based on what Elder Mu said, the greatest threat to the pavilion master is the power of the law. As far as I know, Leng Shiqi once obtained a treasure that contained the law of heaven and earth, and he could barely control it. Only the law can deal with it. Leng Shiqi might be able to get rid of the law in the pavilion master's body. That makes sense. Elder Bone was even happy when he heard this. He slapped Wu Xiang hard a few times, causing him to grimace. Then why aren't you going? I'll go now. More than a month later, Leng Shiqi followed Wu Xiang to the Blood Garment Pavilion, travel-worn. The master and disciple had a tacit understanding. Wu Xiang saved the pavilion master, and gave Leng Shiqi a huge credit, allowing him to build up his reputation in the sect. All the higher-ups of the Blood Garment Pavilion came to welcome Leng Shiqi at the same time. It was not only an acknowledgement of his strength, but also a sign of gratitude and hope for him. Seeing Hateful Blade, Leng Shiqi frowned deeply, causing everyone's hearts to jump to their throats. I'll give it a try first. I might not succeed, Elder Mu said. It's very rare to have a chance. Go ahead and do it. Leng Shiqi put on an act, and took out a stone plate. As soon as he took it out, everyone immediately felt a faint trace of the power of the laws of earth. He really does have a treasure of the law. In fact, it was easy for Leng Shiqi to get rid of the law in Hateful Blade's body. However, he still struggled for a long time. He was sweating profusely, causing everyone to worry. After several hours, Leng Shiqi suddenly sat on the ground and said with joy, It worked. As soon as he finished speaking, Hateful Blade opened his eyes. Elder Mu and the others were overjoyed. To them, Hateful Blade was not just the pavilion master. On the contrary, this pavilion master was not very competent. This was because Hateful Blade was the most promising person in the Blood Garment Pavilion to reach the mystic comprehending realm. Even Six Directions Spirit Supremacy had personally said that Hateful Saber was indeed qualified. If Hateful Blade reached the mystic comprehending realm, the Blood Garment Pavilion would definitely be able to reach a higher level and become a transcendent sect. Elder Mu and the others were about to speak when Hateful Blade said weakly, Although I'm unconscious, I know what you've done and said. Lung Shiqi, you saved my life and stopped the top sects in the 9 eastern counties. You even invited a mystic comprehending realm expert to force 6 directions spirit sovereign to retreat. As the pavilion master, I have nothing to repay you with. The only thing I can do is fulfill my promise. Then Hateful Blade stood up with difficulty. He looked at all the higher-ups and said slowly, "From today onwards, I will step down from my position as the pavilion master and recommend Lung Shiqi to succeed me as the Blood Garment Pavilion Master." His words did not surprise anyone, but they felt that it was a little rushed. Wu Xiang was the first to speak. "I agree that Lung Shiqi should succeed me as the pavilion master." Hua Luiyue also nodded. When the others saw that the 2 pavilion master candidates had agreed, they had nothing else to say. As for Feng Shamo, he was no longer qualified to speak. Ink Frost Phantom said solemnly, "Lung Shiqi has the status of a pavilion master candidate and has made contributions that no one can match. I have no objections to him succeeding me as the pavilion master. However, there are not many disciples who know about Lung Shiqi's existence. Even 90% of the disciples in the main sect do not know who you are. If you recklessly succeed me as the pavilion master, I'm afraid that many disciples will doubt you." "That's easy," Elder Gu added. "Let him be an elder first. Also, if the pavilion master decides to step down from his position, let the candidates compete with each other. In the end, Lung Shiqi will emerge victorious." The few of them nodded. It was just a formality to let Lung Shiqi show his face and make his presence known. Lung Shiqi gladly accepted. Entering the Blood Garment Pavilion was easier than he thought. Chapter 9:14. Once he had control of the Blood Garment Pavilion, coupled with the intelligence network of the Dark Thunder Guards, nothing in the Thunderfire dynasty could escape his eyes and ears. Moreover, the Blood Garment Pavilion was indeed a good sword. Many things could be done quietly. Otherwise, the 6 directions spiritual supremacy would not have coveted the Blood Garment Pavilion. After this matter was settled, Lung Shiqi had been staying in the Blood Garment Pavilion. He did not hide his identity. After all, the 6 directions spiritual region knew his true identity. Now that both sides had fallen out, the 6 directions spiritual region might reveal the Blood Garment Pavilion's secret. Instead of being passive, it was better to admit it directly. When the disciples of the Blood Garment Pavilion found out that Lung Shiqi, the king of the western wilderness of the Thunderfire dynasty, and one of the 4 Dark Thunder Guards, was actually their elder, they were all extremely shocked. Their jaws dropped to the ground. Therefore, when the higher-ups announced that Lung Shiqi was the pavilion master candidate, not only did no one question him, he was even supported by many disciples. In their opinion, Lung Shiqi, Wu Xiang, and Hua Luiyue were all at the heavenly origin stage. In contrast, Lung Shiqi was famous and was deeply worshipped by many disciples. The Blood Garment Pavilion also deliberately promoted Lung Shiqi's role in the Bloodseed plan. They even gave him most of the credit for getting through this crisis. Of course, this was the truth. After half a year, Lung Shiqi finally stood out from the other pavilion master candidates and became the new Blood Garment Pavilion Master. The Battle of the Blood Garment Pavilion could be said to have shocked everyone in the world. They had never seen such an anticlimactic affair. Originally, the Blood-Robed Pavilion was the public enemy of the whole country. However, there were not many people who actually went to attack the Blood-Robed Pavilion. What was even more ridiculous was that those who went were scared back without even fighting. It was the biggest joke in the world. Before the Blood Garment Pavilion finished eating, the 6 directions spiritual region announced to the world that the king of the western wilderness, Lung Shiqi, was actually a spy planted by the Blood Garment Pavilion in the Thunderfire dynasty. Before anyone could verify it, the Blood Garment Pavilion announced that Lung Shiqi was the new pavilion master of the Blood Garment Pavilion. Now there was no need to prove it. He could just admit it himself. Everyone in the Thunderfire dynasty focused their attention on the Blood Garment Pavilion once again. They wanted to see how the Thunderfire dynasty would deal with this matter. He was a prince with a different surname, one of the 4 chiefs of the Dark Thunder Guards, but he was actually a spy from a sect. This was a ruthless slap to the Thunderblaze dynasty's face. They were all guessing whether the Thunderblaze dynasty would annihilate the Bloodcloak Pavilion in a fit of rage. In truth, this was what the ministers of the imperial capital had suggested. Leng Shiqi had used his past incarnation to control Lei Haoyan and bring out Six Directions Spirit Sovereign. He admitted that he already knew Leng Shiqi's identity. In fact, Leng Shiqi was a double agent. The dynasty had secretly joined forces with the Blood Garment Pavilion in order to deal with the real mastermind, Six Directions Spiritual Supremacy. Previously, Six Directions Spiritual Supremacy had led people to attack the imperial capital. They hated Six Directions Spiritual Supremacy to the core. After hearing this explanation, they felt relieved. Leng Shiqi also explained that the Blood Garment Pavilion would share their intelligence network with the Dark Thunder Guards. In this way, the Thunderblaze dynasty would be able to lay out an inescapable net and know all the clues like the back of their hand. Only then did the ministers understand that the Blood Garment Pavilion had been recruited. It turned out that they were on the same side. Since they were on the same side, why would they fight? Therefore, the people outside waited and waited, but the Thunderblaze dynasty did not make any moves. It was as if this matter had never happened. Everyone was stunned. Was this still the domineering Thunderblaze dynasty? From the time the Thunderblaze dynasty decisively attacked the Northern Wei dynasty and seized 2 counties, then secretly annexed the 6 nations of the western region, the Thunderblaze dynasty gave everyone the impression that they were domineering. However, the dynasty did not have any reaction to Leng Shiqi's public betrayal this time. This was too strange. Not doing anything was equivalent to a tacit agreement. Therefore, Leng Shiqi became the Dark Thunder Guard's 4th chief supervisor, the Western Wilderness King of the Western Wilderness County, and the Blood Garment Pavilion's Pavilion Master, one of the 7 absolutes in the world. These 3 extremely uncoordinated identities appeared in the same person at the same time. It was as strange as it could be. Leng Shiqi, who had become the Pavilion Master, did not care about the rumors outside. He was very busy. First, he had to take over most of the Blood Garment Pavilion's authority. He would not give up almost all of it like Hateful Blade. At the same time, he kept Ink Frost Ghost as the Deputy Pavilion Master. Firstly, Ink Frost Ghost's experience in managing the Blood Garment Pavilion was unparalleled. With him around, Leng Shiqi would have a much easier time. Secondly, Ink Frost Ghost did not covet the position of Pavilion Master. He could be trusted. Previously, the Blood Garment Pavilion had given up on all the county's branches. They could not be rebuilt yet. After all, the power of the branches was equivalent to a second-rate force. If they were targeted, it would be a waste. Therefore, Leng Shiqi built 2 large branches on the east and west sides of the Thunderblaze dynasty. Wu Xiang and Hua Luiyue guarded them respectively. It was not until more than a year later that the Blood Garment Pavilion finally settled down. During this time, apart from being busy with the Blood Garment Pavilion, Leng Shiqi did not forget to continue recruiting new members of the underworld. The first was Bing Shang. Bing Shang's talent was not ordinary. She also had 0 eyes. More importantly, she had a good temperament. After becoming a member of the underworld, she had also received the title of King Chu Jiang. With the help of legacy cultivation methods and exclusive treasures, she had reached the unity of heaven and man realm. The other was the previous Pavilion Master of the Blood Garment Pavilion, Hateful Blade. Hateful Blade's personality was similar to Xiong Ming's. He did not care about power and was too lazy to say anything. He only wanted to pursue greater power. Moreover, Leng Shiqi had discovered that Hateful Blade had a chance to break through to the mystic comprehending realm after healing him. He estimated that if Hateful Blade joined the underworld and obtained legacy cultivation methods and treasures, the probability of him breaking through to the mystic comprehending realm would be very high. After Leng Shiqi made this request, Hateful Blade agreed without hesitation. He wanted to return Leng Shiqi's favor, and also to obtain greater power. Hateful Blade obtained the legacy of the 10 Kings of Hell, King Biancheng. After doing this, Leng Shiqi could finally proceed to the next step of his plan. He contacted Nine Leave in the underworld and asked, "Nine Leave, what's the situation in the far north wastelands?" Nine Leave looked at him strangely and said, "Now the far north wastelands is divided equally. 2 demon venerables each have half. They are Demon Venerable Lifeng and Demon Venerable Silver Wing. They each have 7 or 8 demon kings under their command. I am one of the 8 demon kings of Demon Venerable Silver Wing, 9-leaf demon king. Why are you asking this? Do you want to meddle in the far north wastelands? Leng Shiqi raised his head and smiled. Only 2 demon venerables. You're right. I have the intention to make a trip to the far north wastelands. After making up his mind, Leng Shiqi left his unborn Dharma body in the Blood Garment Pavilion. His original body was directly teleported to the far north wastelands that was filled with demon beasts through 9-leaf. Chapter 9:15. Coming to the northern wastelands, Leng Shiqi's biggest feeling was that the spiritual energy here was extremely poor. It could be imagined that there were very few other resources. No wonder the demon clan was exiled here. Ordinary spirit cultivators would not cultivate in such a place. At this time, 9-leaf was still muttering, "What do you mean there are only 2 demon sovereigns?" Leng Shiqi also discovered that there seemed to be a faint smell of blood in the air of the northern wastelands. 9-leaf explained, "This is the territory that I recently occupied. Not long ago, there was a battle. Battles are very common in the northern wastelands. Seems like you are doing well in the northern wastelands. Of course, among the 8 demon kings under the Silver Wing Demon Sovereign, I am ranked 5th. 9-leaf coughed dryly. You must know that I have only been in the northern wastelands for a short period of time. Among the demon kings, I am already ranked 5th. I don't know how many demon kings are envious of me." Yes, Demon King 9-leaf is the most powerful," Leng Shiqi complimented. "Let's get down to business. I want to see that Silver Wing Demon Sovereign." 9-leaf revealed an expression of as expected. I knew you had a plan. Unfortunately, you can forget about it. The hatred of the demon clan in the northern wastelands towards the human clan is much stronger than the demon miasma mountain range. If the Silver Wing Demon Sovereign sees you, he will want to slap you to death. That might not be the case. Leng Shiqi smiled mysteriously. Then an extremely pure demon chi surged out from his body. His eyes turned a pale green, revealing a terrifying gaze. 9-leaf's eyes focused. She actually saw the faint image of a wolf behind Leng Shiqi. She knew that it was not some heaven and earth Dharma idol, but the true body of a 7th-ranked demon sovereign. This was what surprised her the most. Leng Shiqi was clearly a human. How could he have the characteristics of a 7th-ranked demon sovereign? Although he did have a trace of demon clan's bloodline, he could only be considered a half-demon. But Leng Shiqi in front of her was a genuine demon clan. Knowing Leng Shiqi's background, 9-leaf was puzzled. "How did you do it?" Leng Shiqi asked back. "There are all kinds of strange things in the world. It's just a little trick. Do you think it can be hidden from the Silver Wing Demon Venerable? Your bloodline and even your soul are pure demons. Even Demon Venerable Silver Wing couldn't have seen through it. You really came prepared. That's good. Oh, by the way, there's someone you might know." Leng Shiqi summoned Qing. Qing greets master. Qing first bowed to Leng Shiqi. When she raised her head and saw 9-leaf, she opened her mouth and said in surprise, "Sister 9-leaf? You are." Little Qing. 9-leaf sized up Qing, and also recognized her. "You are a tier 7 great demon." "Yes, all thanks to master's help." "Master?" 9-leaf looked at Leng Shiqi from the corner of his eyes. "I didn't expect you to be interested in this. Little Qing is my good sister in the demonic miasma mountain range. What did you do to her?" Leng Shiqi waved his hand and said, "Don't think too much. You see, I have the identity and the power. Now I am qualified to meet Demon Venerable Silver Wing. I can introduce you, but you should at least tell me what your plan is. I don't want to be sold by you without knowing. Actually, it's nothing. I just feel that it's not a good idea to keep fighting in the extreme northern wilderness. It's better to unify it." 9-leaf heard this and the corner of her mouth twitched slightly. "You really don't give up until you say something shocking. You, a fake demon, want to unify the extreme northern wilderness?" Leng Shiqi shook his head. "Not me. It's Demon Venerable Silver Wing. It may also be you in the future." 9-leaf was thoughtful. The tacit understanding between her and Lung Shiqi made her understand. I understand. You want to help Demon Venerable Silver Wing unify the extreme northern wilderness, and then use the power of the demon race to do things. When we are strong enough, we will replace them. That's right. The idea is good, but I want to know how you will help Demon Venerable Silver Wing unify the extreme northern wilderness. The two Demon Venerables have many 7th-rank demons under their command. The Demon King is only the most powerful among them. Even with you and Little Qing, Demon Venerable Silver Wing's power won't improve qualitatively. Or are you a little arrogant after breaking through to the Heaven Origin Realm? Nine Leaf questioned. Who said I'm in the Heaven Origin Realm? Lung Shiqi moved his finger, and an invisible force suddenly fell down like Mount Tai. Nine Leaf and Qing Er's bodies were shining with demon light, but they were still smashed. Their bodies sunk into the ground for dozens of feet. Nine Leaf wasn't injured, but she was a little embarrassed. However, she didn't care about this at all. Her eyes were shining with surprise. This is the law of gravity. You are already in the mystic comprehending realm. Kind of. Lung Shiqi couldn't explain his realm, so he could only answer like this. Nine Leaf glanced at Lung Shiqi with a strange expression. Are you really a human? You can't be the reincarnation of an ancient almighty, right? She guessed correctly. Lung Shiqi smiled. It's possible. Maybe I'm the reincarnation of the desolate heaven demon monarch. Tisk, even if the desolate heaven demon monarch reincarnated, he couldn't be a human. With your power, you can indeed influence the battle between the two demon venerables. I'll take you to see Demon Venerable Silverwing. As for how to persuade him, it's up to you. Nine Leaf took Lung Shiqi and Qing and flew quickly in a direction. Along the way, Nine Leaf kept explaining the situation of the extreme northern wilderness to Lung Shiqi. The extreme northern wilderness was now divided equally. Demon Venerable Silverwing and Demon Wind occupied the east and west respectively. Both sides fought fiercely almost every day. Under the two Demon Venerables, there were several Demon Kings. These Demon Kings were equivalent to human cultivators in the late stage of the Heaven Origin Realm. Each Demon King controlled more or less demon tribes and corresponding territories. Nine Leaf had the Scorpion Tribe, the Spirit Fox Tribe and the Bear Tribe. This situation had been maintained for hundreds of years. During this period, both sides had their advantages and disadvantages, but they had never been able to destroy the other side and unify the demon race. It could also be said that as long as Demon Venerable Silverwing and Demon Venerable Lifeone couldn't determine a winner, neither side could destroy the other. In addition, the extreme northern wilderness was indeed worthy of the name wilderness. Lung Shiqi followed Nine Leaf and flew for thousands of miles. All he saw were withered trees and desolation. Sometimes, wars would break out between tribes just for food. The living environment could be said to be extremely harsh. Even so, the Imperial Beast Abode and Blood Beast sect outside were still active in capturing demon beasts in the extreme northern wilderness. No wonder the demon race hated the human race so much. 2 days later, the three headed north and came to a snowy mountain. Nine Leaf pointed to the peak of the snowy mountain and said, Demon Venerable Silverwing is cultivating there. I have to go and inform him first. Lung Shiqi scanned with his divine sense, and didn't find any demon race nearby. There were also no tribes. Could it be that there was only one Demon Venerable Silverwing in this snowy mountain? Chapter 916. Lung Shiqi could not help but ask, is there no one else besides Silverwing Demon Venerable? Why does Silverwing Demon Venerable need someone else here? Nine Leaf suddenly turned her head. Don't think too much. Silverwing Demon Venerable's strength is not comparable to an ordinary mystic comprehending realm cultivator. Lung Shiqi shrugged. I'm just asking casually. Don't think too much. Nine Leaf sighed slightly. As Lung Shiqi's strength increased by leaps and bounds, she could not do anything about it. Soon, an elegant female voice came from the snowy peak. Blue Wolf Demon Venerable came from afar. Excuse me for not going out to meet you. Blue Wolf Demon Venerable was a name Lung Shiqi casually gave himself. Hearing this voice, he realized that Silverwing Demon Venerable was actually a female. Lung Shiqi stepped out and instantly arrived at the snowy peak. There were no glorious palaces or mysterious formations here. There was only a vast flat ground, and an elegant woman dressed in simple and elegant clothes was standing there. At first glance, she was as pure as the snowy mountain, but did not have the feeling of being thousands of miles away. Strangely, she was carrying a sword on her back. This was the first time Leng Shiqi saw a demon using a sword. If he did not know her identity, he would think that she was a sword cultivator disciple of some sect. Leng Shiqi cupped his fists and said, "I've long heard of Silver-Winged Demon Venerable's name. Today, I finally get to meet you. The Blue Wolf bloodline has long been extinct. I didn't expect blue wolves to still exist in this world. It's really a blessing for the demon race." Silver-Winged Demon Venerable's voice was soft and gentle. "I was born in the demonic Miasma mountain range. Later, I mingled with the human race for a period of time. After making a detour, I learned that the demonic Miasma mountain range no longer existed. I could only return to the far northern wilderness to find a place to settle down. This was also what he and Nine Leaf had agreed before. After all, she had to have a background." Sigh. Silver-Winged Demon Venerable sighed softly. "The far northern wilderness is almost barren and has no resources. Why did you think of returning? It's better to be free outside." Leng Shiqi knew that Venerable Silverwing was testing him. He said with a solemn expression, "How can the outside world be called free and unfettered? An 8th-rank venerable demon is full of treasures. Those humans can't wait to tear me into pieces. If it weren't for his ability to conceal himself, he would have died long ago. This is the only place where I don't need to disguise myself. Especially when I see the Silver-Winged Demon Venerable. It makes me feel like I'm bathing in a spring breeze." Heh. The Silver-Winged Demon Venerable smiled. "As expected, after being in the human race for so long, you speak differently from those boorish fellows. Little Julie told me your purpose for coming here. Unfortunately, I have no intention of unifying the northern wastelands. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you." "No such thoughts?" Leng Shiqi did not believe it at first. The Silver-Winged Demon Venerable and the Gale Demon Venerable had been fighting for so many years, and the hatred between them was as deep as the sea. Even if the Silver-Winged Demon Venerable did not want to unify the demon clan, he should not have rejected him for revenge. He looked at Julie, and Julie sent him a message. "Don't look at me. I don't know anything." The Silver-Winged Demon Venerable took the initiative to explain. "If you return to the northern wastelands, you can indeed influence the situation here. You can help me, Venerable Gale, or even establish your own sect. All of these will cause the northern wastelands to fall into a huge turmoil. This is not what I want to see, and it is not what Venerable Gale wants to see either. Everyone has ambition, especially Lai Feng. But if you go to him, he will not agree with you. Because the northern wastelands needs the current situation. You don't need to make any changes. This is the best." Leng Shiqi's mind changed rapidly. He speculated, the resources of the northern wastelands are extremely scarce, and the low-ranked demon clan's reproduction ability is very strong. It won't work in the long run. Therefore, the fight between the two demon venerables is actually to reduce the number of low-ranked demon beasts, so that the demon clan and the resources will always be in a delicate balance. Therefore, for so many years, even if one of the demon venerables has the advantage, they have not swallowed the other party. The Silver-Winged Demon Venerable praised, "Venerable Tsang Lang is wise. The fact is just as you said. If the northern wastelands are unified, the number of battles will naturally decrease. As the number of clans gradually increases, the resources of the wastelands will be completely consumed sooner or later. By that time, our clan will have to fend for itself." Leng Shiqi shook his head and said, "This is a good idea indeed. But forgive me for being blunt. How long can this last? Hundreds of years? Thousands of years? Tens of thousands of years? The renewable resources of the northern wastelands are very little, and they are decreasing every moment. Even if you are trying your best to control the number of demon clan, it can only be regarded as a temporary measure." "How can I not know what you just said? But there is no other way. The demon clan is declining, and there are already 2 top sects guarding the entrance of the northern wastelands. The Northern Wei dynasty is also eyeing the northern wastelands covetously. We can only delay as long as we can. The silver-winged demon Venerable's tone was full of helplessness. The demon clan had been exiled to this place for hundreds of thousands of years. During this period of time, it was not that they had not resisted. The closest they had been to success was 10,000 years ago. Unfortunately, the Zhongyuan sword saint had appeared out of nowhere and turned the situation around by himself. From then on, the demon clan had completely declined and could only struggle at death's door in the northern wastelands. Leng Shiqi frowned. He did not expect that the demon clan Venerable, who was known for his viciousness, would actually lose all his vigor. He muttered to himself, "The situation in the northern wastelands cannot be delayed. My goal is actually the same as the two demon venerables, but I will not let the demon clan fend for itself. I will lead the demon clan out of the northern wastelands and let the demon clan have a place in the falling star continent. Therefore, the unification of the northern wastelands is imperative. As long as we can rush out of the northern wastelands, all the problems will naturally be solved. Silver-winged demon Venerable, don't think that I am delusional. You might say that once the demon clan dares to leave the northern wastelands, they will be surrounded and annihilated by all the spirit cultivators in the world. But if I tell you, the northern wastelands only faces the Northern Wei dynasty, Silver-winged demon Venerable, do you believe me or not?" Although Leng Shiqi had not been in the northern wastelands for long, from what he had seen and heard, he roughly understood that the demon clan was not weak. On the contrary, they were stronger than any of the peak forces. They could even suppress transcendent forces. 2 demon venerables, a dozen demon kings, and dozens of 7th-level great demons. This kind of strength far surpassed the Northern Wei dynasty. After all, the Northern Wei dynasty only had Chen Xian, who was at the common profound realm. If the demon clan only needed to face the Northern Wei dynasty, then the Northern Wei dynasty would definitely lose. But how was that possible? Leng Shiqi said mysteriously, "I have been in the human clan for many years, not for sightseeing. In the near future, the Thunderblaze dynasty and the Falling Star dynasty will definitely fight. We will take this opportunity to rush out of the northern wastelands and occupy the Northern Wei dynasty." Silver-winged demon Venerable obviously did not believe him. If not for Leng Shiqi revealing his demon Venerable aura, she would have already chased him away. Even if everything goes as you expect, what about after that? Even if the other 2 dynasties are fighting, the transcendent forces and peak forces in the world will definitely join hands to besiege our clan. Who will stop them? Leng Shiqi waved his hands, and a starry sky universe appeared behind him. Vaguely, powerful auras came from it. He said word by word, "I will stop them." Chapter 917. Silver-winged demon master and 9 leaves stared blankly at the starry universe behind Leng Shiqi. The starry river flowed, and the scary thing was that there were hundreds of powerful auras. The aura of a Tianyuan realm expert. To be honest, Silver-winged demon master, I once met a descendant of the Star Clan by chance. The Star Clan hates the human clan more than we do. The power they have accumulated over hundreds of thousands of years is unimaginable. I have joined forces with the Star Clan and decided to take back the Falling Star continent. In the future, the Star Clan and the Demon Clan will be the masters. As for the Human Clan, they are only fit to be our food. Star Clan. The silver-winged demon Venerable looked surprised. In fact, the Star Tribe was the main culprit who banished the Demon Clan to the northern wilderness. Later, the Star Clan was destroyed by the Human Clan, which made the Demon Clan happy. However, hundreds of thousands of years had passed, and the Demon Clan had almost no hatred for the Star Clan, because it was the Human Clan who had been slaughtering and enslaving them. So now, the Star Clan and the Demon Clan had a common enemy. It seems that you came prepared. Silver-winged demon master seemed to have loosened up. Based on the power that Leng Shiqi had shown, it was indeed enough to fight against the Human Clan. But I can't believe you. Also, the Human Clan has more Tongxian realm experts than you know. If those people join forces, our clan will still be defeated. Leng Shiqi pulled a long face and said with a trace of disappointment, "There is nothing that can be done without taking risks. let alone such a great plan to restore our clan. I came with sincerity, not to see such a cowardly silver-winged demon master. If you don't believe me, then I will fight against both demon masters at the same time. Even if I have to lead the remaining demon clan, I will fight against the human clan. Speaking of this, Lung Shiqi turned around and pretended to leave. Even if I die in battle, I don't want to die like a dog. Silver-winged demon master was struggling and hesitating. Her will had long been extinguished, but Lung Shiqi's words had ignited the flames in her heart. Everything was as Lung Shiqi had said. Even if the demonic beasts managed to maintain a delicate balance, they would slowly die out after 1,000 years. Since that was the case, he might as well take a gamble. Moreover, if she did not agree, it would not be difficult for Lung Shiqi to unify the far north wilderness with the cultivation of the demon Venerable and the power of the descendants of the Star Clan. Venerable Silverwing's heart began to waver. Silverwing Demon Sovereign, take your time to think about it. I'm going to look for Wind-Breaking Demon Sovereign. If he's the same as Silverwing Demon Sovereign, then we can only meet on the battlefield. Wait. I can't give you an answer yet, but I can go with you. Lung Shiqi felt a little relieved when he heard this. This meant that the Silver-Winged Demon Venerable had begun to side with him. Although the Silver-Winged Demon Venerable hadn't agreed, she was secretly helping Lung Shiqi since she was willing to go with him to find Demon Venerable Lai Feng. It could be said that the first step to success had been taken. In fact, before coming to the far north wilderness, Lung Shiqi wanted to choose Venerable Silverwing to help him defeat Demon Venerable Lai Feng and indirectly unify the demonic beasts. Who would have thought that the two demon venerables of the demonic beasts had already reached a tacit understanding and formed an unspoken rule? Lung Shiqi could only change his words temporarily. Anyway, his ultimate goal was the same, which was to use the demonic beasts to stall the Northern Wei dynasty. He told Venerable Silverwing that there would be a war between the Thunderblaze dynasty and the Starfall dynasty. This was not a lie. Since he supported the Zhulu country to annex the Beilu country and the Yuezhi country, his plan had already begun, including entering the Bloodcloak Pavilion, and now in the far north wilderness. He was preparing for his ultimate goal. Demon Venerable Lai Feng's location spanned more than half of the far north wilderness. When Venerable Silverwing and Lung Shiqi found him, he was lying on the ground with a few wine jars beside him. Before they got close, they could smell the pungent smell of alcohol. Venerable Silverwing frowned and said with displeasure, "A dignified demon venerable is like a drunkard. What a scandal!" She had specially brought him here, but who would have thought that she would see Demon Venerable Lai Feng in such a state? It was really a disgrace to the Demon Venerable. Lung Shiqi cupped his hands and said, "Demon Venerable Lai Feng is a true man. I'm Tsunglang. I'm here to pay my respects." Demon Venerable Lai Feng on the ground did not pay much attention at first. After he glanced at him, the smell of alcohol on his body disappeared. His red eyes stared at Lung Shiqi and he said in surprise, "When did another rank 8 Demon Venerable appear in the far north wilderness?" Venerable Silverwing briefly explained Lung Shiqi's origin and purpose. Lung Shiqi also repeated what he had said to Venerable Silverwing. Lung Shiqi thought that he would have to spend more time talking, but unexpectedly, Demon Venerable Lai Feng roared, "Damn it! I can't wait for heaven to eat those humans. Don't be rash. You'd better think carefully before you speak." Venerable Silverwing reminded him. Demon Venerable Lai Feng scratched his beard and said, "Songlang, it's not that I don't want to believe you. Although you and I are not of the same clan, your appearance is too mysterious. I won't let all my clansmen die rashly." Lung Shiqi's expression became serious. He stretched out 2 fingers and pointed to the sky. Demonic light shot out from his eyes and he said, "Both demon venerables are here. I can swear to heaven that if I betray the demon clan, my body and soul will be destroyed and I will not enter the samsara." Heavenly Demon Oath. This was an oath that only rank 8 demon venerables could make with the help of the laws of heaven and earth. Once violated, the demon venerable would suffer a backlash from the laws of heaven and earth and die without a doubt. This action made the 2 demon venerables let down their guard against him. Lung Shiqi continued, "It's okay if you don't believe me. Let's sit down and talk while drinking." As he spoke, he took out a jar of wine. The words "Drunken Life" were written on the red paper. This was something that he had won from a lottery a long time ago. He had tasted a little of it before. It was known as the best wine in the world. This was the perfect opportunity to cater to his taste. Leng Shiqi opened the lid. Once Demon Venerable Lai Feng saw the wine jar, his eyes almost popped out. His nose twitched. He stretched out his trembling hands and said, Let me have a taste." Crash. Leng Shiqi pointed with his finger. A stream of water shot out from the jar. Demon Venerable Lai Feng opened his mouth and gulped it down. As the wine entered his stomach, Demon Venerable Lai Feng's body felt light. After a long while, he suddenly slapped his thigh and hooked onto Leng Shiqi's shoulder. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "Old brother Tsang, you are my blood brother. As long as there is enough wine, I promise to fight wherever you point me to." Leng Shiqi smiled and said, "Old brother Crevice, don't worry. I have plenty of wine here." Beside him, Demon Venerable Silverwing covered his face and remained silent. This was too embarrassing. Since old brother Lai Feng has agreed, why is Demon Venerable Silverwing still hesitating? Then we'll do as you say. However, if I find out that you're lying, don't blame me for turning against you. Leng Shiqi thought to himself, it's done. Now that everything was ready, all that was left was to wait for the right time. Chapter 9:18. Time flew by, and 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. In the past 10 years, the Starfall continent did not change much, and the various parties were still fighting endlessly. The biggest thing in the past 10 years was that the 6 countries of the western region no longer existed, and were replaced by the Shizhou country. The Shizhou country that had annexed the Jushur country and the Golden Tribe country. As for the Tuoba country, it had secretly submitted to the Thunderblaze dynasty, and even backstabbed the Golden Tribe country, allowing Carol to easily sweep through the 5 countries. Other than that, nothing else happened that shook the continent. 10 years later, Leng Shiqi's face did not change at all. At this moment, he was standing beside Oziu with a solemn expression. Oziu's eyes were tightly closed, and illusory images flashed around him. Not long after, his movements paused, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Leng Shiqi revealed a surprised expression. Oziu was now in the heavenly origin realm, and his deduction skills were superb. The thing he was calculating could actually backfire on him. Oziu wiped away the blood indifferently and said, "The holy city is probably going to appear soon, and I have roughly calculated the location. It's in the Starfall dynasty." Your deduction of the location is really specific. The Starfall dynasty's territory was much larger than the Thunderblaze dynasty's. Moreover, he had the bloodline of the Star Clan, so he could roughly feel that it was in that direction. This sentence was equivalent to not saying anything. Oziu pursed his lips and said, "It's already very good that you can calculate the location. You've prepared for the holy city for 10 years. God knows what kind of storm you will stir up inside. I won't join in the fun this time." Leng Shiqi put his hands behind his back and raised his head slightly. His gaze seemed to be able to see through the sky. 10 years of preparation, just for this day. I hope you won't disappoint me. Don't pretend to be deep here. I advise you to quickly send a few people from the underworld to the Starfall dynasty to wait. The members of the underworld could teleport to each other at any time. As long as they were scattered in all directions of the Starfall dynasty, no matter where the holy city appeared, they would be able to arrive immediately. This time, aren't you going to give me a divination? Forget it, you won't die anyway. Leng Shiqi shrugged and disappeared. He came to the underworld. 10 years later, the underworld had changed greatly. Currently, underworld had become a true world of darkness. The vast and boundless land was divided into many regions with Fengdu Necropolis as the center. All kinds of hell creatures lived in these regions. After they died, they would be directly reincarnated in the underworld, and would often be reborn endlessly. After some time had passed, many powerful creatures had appeared in the underworld. The strongest among them were already stronger than Unity of Heaven realm experts. Most importantly, Hades was already at the 8th stage. In the past 10 years, Leng Shiqi had found 2 Tongxian realm experts who had been living in seclusion. With the help of Hateful Blade and Tu Deng, they were able to kill the 2 Tongxian realm experts and upgrade the Mansion of the Dead. That's right, Hateful Blade was already in the Mystic Comprehending realm, but he hadn't announced it yet. The Blood Cloak Pavilion had 2 profound insights. If the world knew about this, they would be scared to death. After Hell had been upgraded to Tier 8, it could indeed be described as a world. That was because Hell had actually given birth to the power of law. The power of law was the foundation of a world. As the master of Hell, Leng Shiqi could use the power of law at will here. Although he couldn't use it in the outside world, it was enough for him to comprehend the power of law in the outside world more easily. Leng Shiqi contacted a few people through the Netherworld Lamp illusory body. Immediately, a few huge illusory bodies appeared. Ghost Emperor Yao Yi, Ninely. Ninely had broken through to Tier 8 Demon Venerable a year ago. Now he was the 3rd Demon Venerable of the Demon Clan, Ninely Demon Venerable. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, Tu Deng. Tu Deng's cultivation realm was still a mystery. He was a bit similar to Leng Shiqi. Both of them had broken through their original realm. Leng Shiqi was sure that Tu Deng's strength was definitely above the Tongxian realm. King Biancheng Hateful Blade. The previous pavilion master of the Blood Cloak Pavilion stood there like a blade between heaven and earth. And Meng Tianzong. Yes, Meng Tianzong was also a member of the underworld. She was also the strongest fighter in the underworld, a reaching heaven state fighter. Leng Shiqi wanted Meng Tianzong to join the underworld because he valued her strength the most. At the same time, he wanted to control Meng Tianzong through the underworld. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. After joining the underworld, Meng Tianzong not only recovered quickly, but also improved. No one knew how strong she was now, because no one was a match for her. Everyone, Luan Yuancheng has deduced that the sacred city is about to appear in the Starfall dynasty. In order to seize the opportunity, I hope you can go to the Starfall dynasty immediately to guard it. They weren't talkative people. They also knew the secret of the sacred city. Its importance was self-evident. Tu Deng, Hateful Blade, and Ninely nodded and left. Only Meng Tianzong was left. She said, Leng Shiqi, the appearance of the sacred city will definitely attract all the strong fighters in the world. I'm sure I'm not the only reaching heaven state fighter on the continent. On the Starfall continent, reaching heaven state fighters were at the top of the pyramid. A reaching heaven state fighter could support an extraordinary force. Reaching heaven state fighters had become legends. However, Leng Shiqi didn't believe that there were no other reaching heaven state fighters in the world. If someone of this level wanted to hide, no one would be able to find him. Of course, even if you passed by him, you wouldn't be able to recognize him. If I enter the sacred city, I'll pretend to be a reaching heaven state fighter. So you can't underestimate anyone. There might be a reaching heaven state fighter hiding in the sacred city. Leng Shiqi agreed. He had played the pig to eat the tiger before, so he had to be careful. Before entering the sacred city, he had to make all the preparations. No matter whether he could or could not come back from the sacred city, he still had to do what he had set out to do. Then he found the past Dharmakaya, Lei Haoyan, the emperor of the Thunder Dynasty. With Leng Shiqi's power of law, Lei Haoyan's cultivation had also broken through to the Sky Origin realm. At that time it was shocking. After all, there weren't many emperors in the Sky Origin realm. He used Lei Haoyan's identity to quietly mobilize the various armies of the dynasty. Some experts also hid in the dark. The Blood Clothing Pavilion sent out a large number of assassins to infiltrate the Starfall dynasty from all directions. These things had been going on for 10 years, and now, they were about to explode. The demon clans of the northern wastelands had joined forces for the first time. They were ready to kill the human race at any time. After making sure that everything was arranged properly, Leng Shiqi personally went to the Starfall dynasty. He was near the imperial capital at the center, waiting for the sacred city to descend. 2 months later, boundless golden light quietly illuminated the entire falling star continent. Everyone in the world could see the majestic sacred light as long as they raised their heads. Most people even knelt down and kowtowed. It was a pilgrimage. Those high-level spirit cultivators were shocked at first, but then they were overjoyed. This was a great opportunity. Those who knew the truth and those who didn't, all the spirit cultivators in the world gathered towards the Starfall dynasty. Chapter 919. The source of the golden light was in the Starfall dynasty's Lingbei County, and Tudeng was nearby. When the holy city appeared, Lung Shiqi and the rest immediately teleported over through the underworld and found the holy city. The holy city was bathed in the golden light, and one could barely see its shadow. However, when he got close to the holy city, he was blocked by the light. Even Meng Tianzong with his Ascension Realm cultivation could not break in. Lung Shiqi said in a deep voice, "This golden light is very strange. It clearly does not contain any power, but we can't break through. We can't take advantage of this opportunity. What a pity." Meng Tianzong stretched out his hand and grabbed a strand of golden light. This golden light contains Saint Force, but it is dissipating very slowly. So we still have to wait for a while before we can enter. From now on, there will be experts coming over every day. It can be considered a grand occasion for the continent. Lung Shiqi was also helpless. Since they could not break in, they could only wait. Fortunately, the underworld was strong enough. Even if he faced an Ascension Realm expert, he was not afraid. As time passed, Lingbei County became the focus of the world. Spirit cultivators in the continent rushed to Lingbei County like moths to a flame. Especially when some people who knew ancient secrets found out that this was the holy city. Wind Whisper Tower also bought this information. Since Wind Whisper Tower had this information, it meant that everyone in the world knew about it. In less than a month, Lingbei County was almost filled to the brim. This was when most of the Northern Wei Dynasty and Thunderfire Dynasty's spirit cultivators had not arrived. The Starfall Dynasty acted as the host and placed a large number of experts in Lingbei County. They even mobilized tens of thousands of troops to maintain order. Those elusive Sky Origin stage cultivators seemed to be a bit common now. It seemed that they could be seen everywhere. 90% of the top sects in the world had either arrived or were on their way. After 2 months, the number of people gradually decreased. At this time, all the experts in the world had gathered in Lingbei County. Every sect occupied a piece of land, waiting for the holy city to truly open. The ones closest to the holy city were naturally the top sections. A total of 50 transcendents and top forces were lined up in a row. Many Sky Origin Realm experts were walking back and forth. Just one look was enough to brag about for a lifetime. More than half of the Thunderfire Dynasty's Imperial Consecration Hall came, led by Xian Haoying, a peak Sky Origin Realm expert. Lung Shiqi's identity was West Desolate King. This time, he did not follow the Thunderfire Dynasty's Imperial Consecration Hall, as it was more convenient for him to move alone. The current commander of the Dark Thunder Guards, Eunuch Gao, and the commander of the Discipline Commission, Gu San, were in the ranks of the Hall of Worship. Imperial Consecration Sects Imperial Consecration Dynasty's Consecration Hall Imperial Consecration Hall Halls Consecration Halls Imperial Consecration Halls Imperial's Consecrations Hall Imperial. The Black Frost Ghost Man, Bone Demon, Wu Xiang, and Hua Luyue from the Blood Garment Pavilion had all arrived. The Hall Master of the Supreme Saber Hall, Fu Yingxi, and the Vice Hall Master, Yushu, as well as the Purgatory Demon Sect's Sect Master, Purgatory Demon, and the Vice Sect Master, Ming Ming, also occupied advantageous positions. In addition to these sects, there were scattered Sky Origin stage cultivators on the other side. They were all masters who lived in seclusion. Lung Shiqi knew Qingzhu and Honglian among them. Lung Shiqi looked around and found there were over 500 Sky Origin stage cultivators there. 99% of the Sky Origin stage cultivators were here. Not only were there Heaven Origin Realm cultivators, there were even a few Tongxian Realm cultivators. Old Man Xiao from the Thunderfire Dynasty, Chen Xian from the Northern Wei Dynasty, and 2 from the Starfall Dynasty had come. Actually, everyone had long felt that it was impossible for the Starfall Dynasty to only have one mystic comprehending realm cultivator. One of them was Wuma Yuanqing, a well-known Tongxian realm expert. They were not familiar with the other person. After asking around, they found out that he was Ying Qinhe, a member of the older generation of the Starfall dynasty's royal family. He had just entered the Tongxian realm. The Starfall dynasty did not want to expose Ng Qinhe's existence so early. He would be most useful in the dark. However, there were too many experts in Lingbei County. Not only were there hundreds of Sky Origin stage cultivators, but there were also more than 10 Tongxian realm experts. Wuma Yuanqing alone was not enough to intimidate so many Tongxian realm experts. Apart from these 4 people, the 4 Saint Spiritual Realms Lord, 6 Direction Spirit Supremacy, Luoying Spirit Supremacy, Huangwei Spirit Supremacy, and Wu Ji Spirit Supremacy were all here. The experts from the 3 dynasties and the 4 Saint Spiritual Realms were all gathered here. None of them liked each other. For example, Old Man Xiao and 6 Direction Spirit Supremacy almost fought each other. Also, the 4 Saint Spiritual Realms were not so harmonious. For many years, they had been fighting over who was the true ruler of the human race, and they did not agree with each other at all. On the other hand, the Nether Temple and Pure Yang Temple, which were both transcendent forces, kept a low profile. The Nether Temple only sent the Nether Temple's sacred lord. He stood alone in midair. His aura was extremely cold, and no one dared to approach him. Of course, he was not the Nether Temple's sacred lord. Instead, he was the Tongxian realm expert that Leng Shiqi released from the Nether Temple's tomb, Yu Lin. The Pure Yang Temple was even more low profile than the Nether Temple. Over the years, people from the Nether Temple would occasionally appear. However, the Pure Yang Temple had not appeared for hundreds of years. Only one person from the Pure Yang Temple came. No one present knew him. He was an old man in a white robe. He stood on the ground as usual with an indifferent expression. The Yin Yang Temple had not appeared in public for many years. At first, they thought that they were 2 opposing forces. However, they did not know each other after meeting each other. They did not even interact with each other. It was obvious that the others had thought too much. There were 10 Tongxian realm experts in the world's sect ranking. There were also 3 Tongxian realm experts who had hidden themselves from the world. With 13 Tongxian realm experts gathered here, if not for the birth of the holy city, it would be impossible to see such a shocking scene. 6 Direction Spirit Sovereign felt that it was strange. The people who had spoiled his plans twice did not come. One of them cultivated the law of earth, while the other had an invincible body. However, he knew all the Tongxian realm experts present. Those 2 were not among them. There was also a reincarnation master from the Thunderfire dynasty, who had yet to appear. He did not know if he was guarding the Thunderfire dynasty or hiding in the dark. The golden light surrounding the holy city became fainter and fainter. Countless spirit cultivators surrounded the holy city in circles. It could not be described as tens of thousands, but hundreds of millions. Every day, the atmosphere in Lingbei County became more and more tense. No one wanted to miss the great opportunity of the holy city's birth. Even if those low-level spirit cultivators knew that they were not fated with the holy city, they would not have lived their lives in vain after witnessing such a grand scene. Until one day, the golden light faded into a thin layer of golden mist. 6 Direction Spirit Sovereign suddenly burst forth and successfully passed through the golden light. The battle for the holy city had begun. Chapter 920. 6 Direction Spirit Sovereign opened the curtains to a battle. The other Tongxian realm experts immediately followed closely behind and forced their way into the golden radiance. The Sky Origin realm experts also tried, but unfortunately no one succeeded. As expected, the stronger one was, the higher the chance of success. The only special one was Old Man Xiao. He tore open space with a single hand, and opened up a spatial passageway in the golden radiance that led directly to the holy city. Let's go. Old Man Xiao led the Thunderfire Dynasty's Sky Origin realm experts into the passageway. Seeing this scene, everyone exclaimed loudly, "Wow, that's the Thunderfire Dynasty's Old Man Xiao, the Tongxian realm expert. How did he do it?" A spirit cultivator from the Thunderfire Dynasty said proudly, "Ignorant. Old Man Xiao cultivates the space law, which is one of the highest laws. It's easy for him to shatter the void." Leng Shiqi was also in the passageway. As long as he entered, It would mean that everyone from the underworld had entered as well. It had to be said that the space law was indeed very powerful in this situation. After walking through the passageway, he arrived at the golden radiance. At this moment, he was in a huge square that was shining with golden radiance. The other 12 Tongxian realm cultivators couldn't help but frown when they saw old Master Qiao walking in with his entourage. No one expected that the Thunderfire dynasty would be the first to gain the upper hand. Leng Shiqi looked over. The place they were in was very big, and it would not be a problem to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. In front of them stood a majestic wall that stretched endlessly. In the middle of it was a huge golden door that was dozens of feet tall. That was the door to the holy city. Between the golden door and the square, there were 4 stone pillars that were dozens of feet thick and towered into the clouds. However, everyone's gaze was fixed on the door, but no one dared to step forward. No one knew if there were any arrays here. As the saying went, whoever made the first move would lose. It was better to wait and see. 6 directions Spirit Sovereign's vertical eye swept across the surroundings. His gaze paused on the 4 stone pillars for a moment before moving to other places. This action was not hidden from the others. Luoying's Spirit Sovereign gracefully turned around and said, 6 directions Spirit Sovereign's illusion breaker spirit eyes can see through all things. You must have discovered something. 6 directions Spiritual Senior cursed in his heart. This shameless woman. Spirit Exalted Luoying noticed his little actions, but she didn't send him a sound transmission. Instead, she openly spoke about it, causing him to become the center of attention. The Mystic Comprehending Realm Cultivators and the Thunderblaze Dynasty's Heavenly Origin Realm Cultivators all looked at 6 directions Spiritual Sovereign at the same time. Old Master Qiao stroked his beard and laughed in his heart. Indeed, 6 directions Spiritual Supremacy was the center of attention wherever he went. It just so happened that all the attention was diverted to him. Huangwei Spiritual Sovereign sneered. We are now on the same side. Only by entering the holy city as soon as possible can we find more opportunities. If the hundreds of Heaven Origin stage cultivators come in, you won't be able to deal with them even though you are a Tongxian stage cultivator. Not bad. The last of the 4 sacred spiritual realms, Spirit Sovereign Wu Ji, added. Liuhe, no matter what we discover, we can share it. Right now, the most important thing is to enter the holy city. If I find any clues, I will take the initiative to inform you. Disdainful, 6 directions Spiritual Sovereign thought to himself. What can an ignorant man like you find? Left with no choice, 6 directions Spiritual Sovereign could only say, look carefully at the patterns on the 4 stone pillars. I am not sure about the others, but I am very familiar with the pattern on this one. Everyone looked over and saw that the stone pillar he was pointing at was engraved with the pattern of gods. Just looking at it gave people the urge to kneel down and worship it. Leng Shiqi immediately recognized that it was the 6 directions divine statue that 6 directions Spiritual Sovereign had once used. Spirit Exalted Luoying said softly, this stone pillar is actually engraved with the falling cherry divine art. This is the Emperor's Might Divine Sword. And the 8 Ultimates Martial Arts. The 4 sacred spiritual realms domain masters all saw that the engravings on the stone pillars were actually the strongest spiritual techniques that had been passed down in their spiritual realms for a long time. Wuma Yuanqing of the Starfall dynasty stepped forward and said, legend has it that the holy city was built by the 4 sages. If I may be so bold, I guess that these 4 stone pillars are the key to entering the holy city. No one present was a fool. They quickly realized that perhaps only the combined transmission of the 4 sages could open the gates to the holy city. Wuma Yuanqing continued. I believe everyone has guessed it. The 4 of you are the true inheritors of the 4 sages. It is only reasonable that you are the ones who open the gates to the holy city. Even so, if the 4 of us can really open the gates to the holy city, you will be the ones who will benefit. No matter how you look at it, it is not worth it. Spirit Exalted Luoying's red lips moved slightly as she calculated. That's right. Spirit Exalted Wu Ji agreed. We will exhaust all our spiritual energy to open the gates, but you will be able to take the opportunity to enter the holy city. It will be a loss. The mystic comprehending realm cultivators looked at each other and secretly communicated with each other. Wuma Yuanqing said, "The four of you are right. How about this? If you can really open the gates to the holy city, as long as the four of you are the first to arrive, we will not fight for any of the treasures inside. Of course, there will only be one chance." Spirit Exalted Six Directions' eyes flashed. This meant that they could at least avoid a battle. After all, their opponents were all mystic comprehending realm cultivators. This was already a huge advantage. The four of them did not push their luck and nodded. Shortly after, the divine light behind Spirit Exalted Six Directions shot into the sky, and six heavenly divine statues descended. Spirit Exalted Luo Ying's hands flew and instantly formed countless spiritual seals. Countless gorgeous cherry blossoms floated and formed a flower god. Spirit Exalted Emperor's might formed a sword with his fingers, and in an instant, a brilliant heavenly might descended from the sky. A divine sword filled with divine light stood in midair, as if it could slash the heavens and split the earth. Spirit Exalted Wu Ji split into eight, and eight identical illusory figures executed eight spiritual techniques at the same time. Their fists broke the heavens and their palms split the four seas. Their might was unparalleled. Immediately after, something that shocked everyone happened. The flower god formed by the Six Directions divine statues and Spirit Exalted Luo Ying merged with Spirit Exalted Wu Ji's illusory figure, as if it was alive. The Emperor's might divine sword also automatically flew into the hands of the last illusory figure. These four powerful spiritual techniques could actually undergo such a transformation. Spirit Exalted Six Directions, and the other three were so shocked that they could not close their mouths. As the saying goes, kings do not meet kings. Even though the four saint spiritual regions did not get along well with each other, there had never been a situation where the four of them fought each other. These four spiritual techniques had never appeared at the same time, so even they themselves did not know that these four completely different spiritual techniques were actually related to each other. Just as everyone was in shock, they heard a weak sound. When they turned their heads to look, they saw that the tightly shut gates of the holy city had unknowingly opened by a sliver. Things were indeed as they had guessed. The four saint spiritual regions were the key to opening the holy city. Spirit Exalted Six Directions was delighted. Since they needed the power of the four saint spiritual regions to enter the holy city, it would definitely be beneficial to them inside the holy city. Chapter 921. The series of changes caused everyone's hearts to tremble. However, at this moment, the golden gate of the holy city suddenly opened, and a blinding divine light suddenly shone out. The speed of the divine light was extremely fast, so fast that even the mystic comprehending realm cultivators could not dodge in time. Fortunately, the divine light did not harm them. Instead, it pulled them into the holy city. The moment the divine light spread, Six Directions Spirit Sovereign glanced at Leng Shiqi, and killing intent rose in his eyes. Leng Shiqi only saw a golden flash in front of his eyes, and he arrived in another world. What greeted him was incomparably dense origin energy of heaven and earth. It was not spiritual energy, but origin energy of heaven and earth. The origin energy of heaven and earth here was actually several times denser than the outside world. With more origin energy of heaven and earth, it meant that the sky origin realm cultivators here would be stronger. The strength of a sky origin realm cultivator was determined by how much origin energy they could mobilize. For example, Xian Haoying, who was at the peak of the sky origin realm, could probably unleash combat power close to that of a mystic comprehending realm cultivator here. Similarly, the power of law here was obviously more obvious than the outside world. Everyone's strength had increased, which meant that everyone was still the same. Leng Shiqi looked around, and all he could see were strange creatures. At the very least, he had never seen them on the Starfall continent. The holy city seemed to be no longer on the Starfall continent. Where could the passage be? Leng Shiqi was most concerned about the passage out of the continent. If he were to search for it alone, it would undoubtedly be like looking for a needle in a haystack. He directly pulled Meng Tianzong, Nine Leave, Hateful Blade, Tu Deng, and the others into the holy city through the mansion of the dead. The few of them split up to search for clues. Lung Shiqi took advantage of the fact that there was no one around and released a large number of underworld beasts from the mansion of the dead to search around. He might be able to find some clues. He casually flew in a direction. Along the way, he encountered some natural treasures, but he did not even look at them. These things were no longer important to him. While he was searching for the passage, the other powerful cultivators had their own fortuitous encounters. In a deep, icy lake, a hunchbacked old man in a fiery robe was surrounded by flames. The entire lake was evaporating, and the water vapor dispersed, revealing a monster. It turned out that there was a huge snake that was dozens of feet long coiled in the deep pool. It looked like a snake, but it wasn't a snake. It looked like a flood dragon, but it wasn't a flood dragon. Although it had the body of a snake, there was a horn on its head, and its eyes flashed with lightning. As the cold pond evaporated, the giant beast roared in anger and soared into the air, charging towards the Canon Elder. The old man gently waved his hand, and in an instant, clouds of fire covered the sky. One after another, giant flaming hands descended from the sky. As the old man clenched his fist, the giant beast let out a wail, and its body was crushed into pieces of charcoal. The smell of burnt flesh and blood filled the surroundings. The old man pointed his finger, and a long sword suddenly shot out from the deep pool and landed in his hand. The giant beast had been guarding this sword. He lowered his head and saw that the sword was covered in rust. The spirit power in the old man's body burst forth. With a flash of fire, the rust disappeared, and the long sword shone with a sharp edge again. The old man gently stroked the sword, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Its sharpness is comparable to a level 7 artifact weapon, but the power it contains is extremely strange. If it's not an artifact spirit, what could it be? Sure enough, there are treasures everywhere in the holy city. He was about to continue searching for other fortuitous encounters when a figure suddenly appeared. It was Six Directions Spirit Supremacy. Six Directions Spirit Supremacy saw that the old man had obtained an extraordinary treasure as soon as he entered the holy city. He was not envious at all. Instead, he smiled and said, "Brother Enigma Flame, you obtained an artifact weapon as soon as you entered the holy city. You have great fortune." It turned out that this old man was the reclusive mystic comprehending itinerant cultivator, Enigma Flame Taoist. Six Directions Spirit Supremacy. Enigma Flame Taoist immediately became vigilant. "You and I have always minded our own business. You look for your fortuitous encounter, and I'll look for my treasure. Goodbye." Wait. This holy city isn't a city at all. It's like another world. Currently, there doesn't seem to be any danger. There are even natural treasures everywhere. However, the strength of a single person is weak. Since you and I are so close to each other, it must be fate. Moreover, there is no enmity between us. Why don't we join forces? Also, I have a deal here. I wonder if Brother Enigma Flame is willing to listen. Six Directions Spirit Supremacy pretended to be mysterious. Enigma Flame Taoist stopped in his tracks. Among the 13 mystic comprehending cultivators who entered, his strength was below average. However, Six Directions Spirit Supremacy was definitely one of the strongest. If he could join forces with him, it would naturally be a good thing. However, Enigma Flame Taoist had long heard that Six Directions Spirit Supremacy was an ambitious person. Joining forces with him would be like asking a tiger for its skin. He was somewhat hesitant. Six Directions Spirit Supremacy took the opportunity to say, "Brother Enigma Flame might have some misgivings. It's all right. Why don't we make a deal first? You help me kill a person, and I'll help you once. How about that? Kill someone?" Enigma Flame Taoist shook his head without much consideration. If even Six Directions Spirit Supremacy could not kill someone, his strength could be imagined. He would not get involved in this mess. "Brother Enigma Flame, don't be in a hurry to refuse. The person I want to kill is only at the Heaven Origin Realm. Moreover, he only broke through to the Heaven Origin Realm 10 years ago." Six Directions Spirit Supremacy said with cold killing intent. "This person is Lung Shiqi, the Thunderblaze Dynasty's king of the Western Wilderness. Brother Enigma Flame, just ask around and you'll know that I'm telling the truth." Heaven Origin Realm? Enigma Flame Taoist was even more puzzled. It's easy for six-direction spirit supremacy to kill a heaven origin realm cultivator. There's no need for me to do it. Through my illusion breaker spirit eyes, I can roughly see his location. The Thunderblaze dynasty's old man Xiao is not far from him. If I were to make a move, I would definitely be stopped. Therefore, I purposely lured old man Xiao away, so that brother Enigma Flame can take the opportunity to instantly kill Leng Shiqi. Only then can I resolve the hatred in my heart. Six-direction spirit supremacy had revealed Leng Shiqi's identity before he became the Bloodcloth Pavilion. Six-direction spirit supremacy wanted to use the Thunderblaze dynasty to destroy the Bloodcloth Pavilion. Who would have thought that the Thunderblaze dynasty did not care at all, and did not even make a move? After careful investigation, Six-direction spirit supremacy discovered that when he led his men to attack the imperial capital, there was a low-level spirit cultivator who overestimated his strength who came to stop him. It was that person who helped the Thunderblaze dynasty stall for time, allowing the mystic comprehending realm cultivator, who cultivated the law of earth, to arrive. And that person was Leng Shiqi. He had planned for a long time, and this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity was ruined because of a Leng Shiqi. Later on, Leng Shiqi even succeeded as the pavilion master of the Bloodcloth Pavilion, causing six-direction spirit supremacy to hate him to the bone. Now that he had come to the holy city, he had to kill Leng Shiqi. Enigma Flame Taoist calculated in his heart. Killing a mere heaven origin realm cultivator was as easy as flipping his hand. If he could exchange this for a favor from six-direction spirit supremacy, it was definitely the best deal. This kid actually dared to anger six-direction spirit supremacy. Don't worry, he won't live for long. Chapter 922. Leng Shiqi naturally did not know that six-direction spiritual sovereign had set up a trap to kill him. He was still searching for the legendary passageway. However, at that moment, he sensed a powerful fluctuation in front of him. Someone must be fighting for something in front of him. This was a common occurrence, so he did not want to interfere. He scanned with his divine perception, and his expression changed slightly. There were 3 Tongxian realm experts fighting in front of him. They were not fighting each other, but 2 of them were working together to kill one person. That person was the Thunderfire Dynasty's Tongxian realm expert, Old Master Qiao. The one attacking him was the Starfall Dynasty's new Tongxian realm expert, Ingqinhe, and the Divine Lotus Fairy, a reclusive rogue cultivator. Both of them were from the Starfall Dynasty, so it was normal for them to work together. Old Master Qiao cultivated the law of space, but he could not fight 2 people at the same time. Ingqinhe laughed loudly. Old Master Qiao, admit defeat and hand over the spirit flower. Otherwise, don't blame us for being merciless. Once you're injured, you might die in the holy city, and the Thunderfire Dynasty will be in danger. You know you're not a match for us, yet you're still so stubborn. It seems that the spirit flower is really important to us. The Divine Lotus Fairy was dressed in white, and her beauty was unparalleled. Old Master Qiao's expression was gloomy. He had found a treasure not long after entering the holy city, and he had spent a lot of effort to kill the monster guarding the treasure. In the end, he was ambushed by Ingqinhe and the Divine Lotus Fairy just as he obtained the spirit flower. What's the point of relying on numbers? Leng Shiqi appeared on the scene, and the 3 of them immediately stopped what they were doing. Those who dared to interfere in their battle were undoubtedly Tongxian realm experts. They turned around and were stunned. The Divine Lotus Fairy did not recognize Leng Shiqi at all, and Ingqinhe only recognized him after some hesitation. However, the 2 of them looked at Leng Shiqi as if they were looking at an idiot. A mere heaven origin realm expert dared to interfere in the battle of 3 Tongxian realm experts? Was he courting death? You're the Thunderfire Dynasty's king of the West, Leng Shiqi. You're so young, yet you don't know how to conceal your strength. Whatever. Killing you along the way can be considered as getting rid of a lackey of the Thunderflame Dynasty. Ingqinhe sneered, his killing intent surging. Old Man Qiao was also shocked. Leng Shiqi, why are you here? This is not a place you can come. Leave. In his heart, Leng Shiqi was the pillar of the next generation of the Thunderflame Dynasty, and he could not afford to lose him. Unexpectedly, Leng Shiqi shook his head. There are many people who want to kill me, but I'm still alive. You treat me like an idiot, and I feel the same way about you. You can't even detect my presence here. Idiot. As soon as he finished speaking, Leng Shiqi turned into a streak of black light and appeared in front of the divine lotus fairy in an instant. Boundless energy of death condensed, and a sword of death appeared in his hand. As the sword pierced out, it was as though the gates of hell had been opened. Boundless energy of the netherworld covered the sky and swept across the world. Sword Dao of Death. The three metaphysical realm experts were shocked. Leng Shiqi's power was definitely at the metaphysical realm, and it was even stronger than Ingqinha's, who had just entered the metaphysical realm. He had been hiding his cultivation all this time. Naturally, the three people present had different thoughts. First, Old Man Xiao was more surprised than shocked. Leng Shiqi was actually at the metaphysical realm, which meant that the Thunderflame dynasty had another stabilizing force. What made him feel even more strange was that he was extremely familiar with this Sword Dao of Death. This was clearly the Sword Dao of the Master of Samsara. At this moment, Old Man Xiao finally understood that the Master of Samsara was Leng Shiqi. In other words, Leng Shiqi had broken through to the metaphysical realm more than 10 years ago. But how old was Leng Shiqi at that time? Old Man Xiao couldn't help but sigh. The younger generation will surpass us in time. On the other hand, Ingqinha's expression turned ugly. Leng Shiqi's power was actually stronger than his. Not only would he not be able to obtain the spiritual flower today, but the Thunderflame dynasty's threat in the Holy City would also increase exponentially. What was more terrifying was that the Thunderflame dynasty seemed to have the ability to fight against the Starfall dynasty head-on. Of the three people, the most shocked was of course the Divine Lotus Fairy, who was facing the Sword Dao of Death head-on. Unexpectedly, her palm landed lightly, and a dreamlike fantasy country immediately appeared in midair, using the power of a country to suppress the Sword Dao of Death. The surrounding space was compressed. The Divine Lotus Fairy's palm seemed to cover an area of the sky, sealing this part of the world within. However, Leng Shiqi's Sword Dao of Death had already surpassed the so-called sword moves and spiritual techniques. This was the will of death that he had comprehended in the underworld, and it was as if it was made by nature. Even though it was suppressed by the fantasy realm, it was still full of destructive power. Leng Shiqi's eyes bloomed with the light of death, and his Sword Dao of Death reached its peak, instantly causing the fantasy realm to explode. Before the Divine Lotus Fairy could retreat, Leng Shiqi slashed out with his saber again. The three realms of God, Devil, and Buddha descended, severing the physical body from the outside, the soul from the inside, and the negative karma from the heart. Short-lived, Three Gods Blade World. This series of changes made the three of them unable to react. Just now, it was a terrifying sword that seemed to have pierced out from hell. It was already shocking enough that he could grasp such a terrifying Sword Dao of Death. However, he had suddenly slashed out such a powerful saber strike that could split the heavens and earth. How could he cultivate two completely different laws at the same time? Tongxian Realm. Those who could comprehend a trace of the law of heaven and earth were in the Tongxian Realm. Generally speaking, it was already extremely difficult to comprehend a single law. Thus, more than 90% of Tongxian Realm experts were proficient in a single law. And the Leng Shiqi had revealed two types. It was not that there were no experts who cultivated multiple laws, but there had never been one as young as Leng Shiqi. The Divine Lotus Fairy could barely block the Sword Dao of Death, but she could not block the Three Gods Blade World. She turned into countless white lotuses that surged in all directions, and the Three Gods Blade World instantly cut down more than half of the white lotuses. The Divine Lotus Fairy's figure appeared a few hundred feet away. Her face was slightly pale, and her expression was extremely serious. If she had dodged a little slower, she would have been injured. Ingqinha immediately wanted to attack Leng Shiqi, but Old Man Xiao blocked him. Ingqinha, do you think this old man doesn't exist? Ingqinha knew that he could not do anything to his opponent. Leng Shiqi had only used 2 moves to put the Divine Lotus Fairy at a disadvantage. Although she was a rogue cultivator, how could anyone who could cultivate to the Tongxian realm be weak? Moreover, she had reached the Tongxian realm 100 years ago. Compared to Ingqinhe, who had just reached the Tongxian realm, she was slightly stronger. In other words, Leng Shiqi was stronger than either of them. In addition, Old Man Qiao, who cultivated the law of space, was also stronger. If it was 2 against 2, they had no confidence at all. Let's go. Ingqinhe coldly snorted, then turned and left. The Divine Lotus Fairy glared at Leng Shiqi fiercely, then left as well. Old Man Qiao turned and smiled. Leng Shiqi, oh Leng Shiqi, you really tricked this old man. Chapter 923. I didn't mean to hide it. Please don't blame me. Leng Shiqi's attitude was very humble. Seeing Leng Shiqi like this, Old Man Qiao was even more satisfied. How could I blame you? It would have been better for you to hide. Unfortunately, you exposed yourself in order to help me out. Actually, I could have escaped at any time, but that would have cost me a lot of spirit energy. You didn't have to take the risk. Old man, you are the pillar of the Thunderflame dynasty. I can't let you fall into any danger. Haha, let's not talk too much. Old Man Qiao flipped his hand and took out a strange flower. This flower only had a single green petal. It looked a bit strange. However, that lone petal was actually emitting the aura of the pure law of wood. It was actually a treasure that contained the power of law. No wonder Ingqinhe and the Divine Lotus Fairy were so envious. Old Man Qiao handed the spirit flower over. The two of them were fighting over this flower. I don't know what it's called. You were the one who defeated the two of them, so it should be yours. Old man is too polite. This treasure is yours. I don't dare to take it. Leng Shiqi didn't take it. In truth, this treasure didn't have any practical meaning to him. It's not that I don't appreciate it, but this treasure is of no use to me. Seeing Leng Shiqi so determined, Old Man Qiao said, Fine, I won't force you. This place is filled with treasures. If you find a suitable treasure, it'll be yours. From what he said, he was planning to travel with Leng Shiqi. That was how it should be. However, Leng Shiqi had a difficult expression. Old man, the treasure is a small matter. I think it's better to gather the Heaven Origin Realm cultivators. The monsters here are quite strong. The key is that if they encounter the profound comprehending experts of other dynasties, it'll be terrible. I suggest we split up and gather everyone together. It'll be safer and easier to find treasures. That's true. Take this. As long as we're within 5,000 kilometers, we'll be able to sense each other. Old Man Qiao took out a jade pendant. Alright, I'll take my leave first. Take care of yourself, old master. With that, Leng Shiqi turned into a stream of light and left. Old Master Qiao sighed with emotion. The student surpassed the master and flew in the other direction. The reason why Leng Shiqi revealed part of his strength was to avoid some trouble. After all, it was inconvenient for a Tianyuan cultivator to walk around here. Not only could he help Old Master Qiao out of his predicament, but it would also be beneficial to him. It could be considered as killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Several hundred miles away, 6 Directions Spirit Sovereign and Enigmatic Flame Taoist had gloomy expressions. They had clearly seen the battle between Leng Shiqi and Divine Lotus Fairy. Enigmatic Flame Maestro said in a low voice, Liuhe, this is the Heaven Origin Realm brat you spoke of. 6 Directions Spiritual Supremacy had fought with Leng Shiqi before. Naturally, he recognized the Death Sword Principle and the 3 Gods Saber Realm. Leng Shiqi was the mysterious expert who had stopped him from entering the Blood Garment Pavilion. So it's you. It's actually you. Even 6 Directions Spiritual Supremacy was shocked beyond words. Leng Shiqi, you've already broken through to the Mystic Comprehending Realm 10 years ago, but you've been hiding your identity. No wonder you succeeded the Blood Garment Pavilion. And no wonder the Thunderblaze dynasty kept quiet. You've hidden yourself well. 6 Directions Spiritual Supremacy also felt like his intelligence had been insulted. He had clearly been made a fool of. Not only did the killing intent in his heart not decrease, but it also grew stronger. If he did not kill such a peerless genius now, who would be able to kill him in the future? Enigmatic Flame, I'll definitely kill him. Just state your conditions. Still want to kill him? Enigmatic Flame Taoist shook his head. You should know best how difficult it is to kill a mystic comprehending realm cultivator. Even if the two of us can injure him, we can't kill him. Who said it's just the two of us? Six Directions Spiritual Supremacy smiled sinisterly. What do you mean, spiritual supremacy? Six Directions Spiritual Supremacy narrowed his eyes and said, that Lung Shiqi is from the Thunderblaze dynasty. His existence is a great threat to the Starfall dynasty, and he's also made enemies. Enigmatic Flame Taoist understood. Spiritual supremacy. You want to pull Ng Chinha and the Divine Lotus Fairy into our alliance. If the two of them agree, we'll have a high chance of killing Lung Shiqi with 4 mystic comprehending realm cultivators. However, there's a condition. Old Man Qiao must be lured away. Six Directions Spiritual Supremacy's delusion breaker spirit eye flashed with a dazzling light. Then his face revealed a look of surprise, which quickly turned into a look of ecstasy. Ha ha ha, there's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. That Lung Shiqi actually took the initiative to leave Old Man Qiao. He's really courting death. Let's go, we'll go finding Chinha and the Divine Lotus Fairy now. The two of them turned into streaks of light and quickly swept across the sky. On the other side, the Divine Lotus Fairy said to Ng Chinha with a displeased expression, look at the kind of people you've provoked. They insisted on fighting over a spirit flower, but now they've gone for wool and come home shorn. Enough. If you didn't covet that spirit flower, why would you join forces with me? I've heard that the Divine Lotus Fairy's abilities are strange and unfathomable. In the end, you were defeated by a rising star in 2 moves. I'm afraid you don't live up to your reputation. Ng Chinha had a powerful background in the Starfall dynasty, so his words were unyielding. The Divine Lotus Fairy was both angry and annoyed. Don't just stand there and talk. Go and fight that Lung Shiqi. He won't even need to take a breather after 2 moves. With such strength, even Wuma Yuanjia won't be able to win against him. Fairy, you're exaggerating too much. Ng Chinha didn't believe her. Wuma Yuanjia was the strongest person in the Starfall dynasty, and he cultivated 2 types of laws of heaven and earth at the same time. In the entire world, no one dared to say that they could beat him. Just as the two were bickering, 2 other streams of light pierced through the air and arrived. Ng Chinha and the Divine Lotus Fairy immediately became vigilant. Bickering was one thing, but they were still in an alliance for now. Six Directions Spirit Sovereign and Enigmatic Flame Taoist withdrew their spiritual light. Do you two have time to listen to this, Sovereign? In another broken ruin, an old beggar in ragged clothes muttered, the original building style and materials are not from the Starfall continent. This is indeed a broken world fragment. What did the 4 sages want to do when they used the holy city to trap this world fragment? In another monster cave, a young man with half his face burned was holding a purple bead in his hand. He said, it looks a bit like a Yao Core, but it's not. What kind of monsters are these? Back then, the desolate heaven demon emperor told me to keep a low profile and find a chance to enter the holy city. This means that the holy city is the key to breaking through that barrier. In a rippling lake, a mysterious blue-robed man stepped on the surface of the water. It's the same water, but it's made up of different energies. Does this mean that the same law power will be different? I think I understand. Chapter 924. Inside an abandoned palace, 2 Heaven Origin Realm cultivators from the Thunderblaze dynasty were working together to break a formation. Just as they were about to succeed, 4 figures strangely appeared behind them. Only then did the 2 realize it, but it was already too late. A moment later, Six Directions Spirit Sovereign carried the 2 unconscious people and said, Lung Shiqi is flying in this direction. He's not very fast, so he must be looking for something. He won't miss this palace. If he discovers that someone is trying to kill the Heaven Origin Realm cultivators of the Thunderblaze dynasty, he will definitely save them. That will be our chance. Six Directions Spirit Sovereign quickly convinced Ng Chinha and the Divine Lotus Fairy. They all wanted to kill Lung Shiqi, so they quickly formed an alliance. Right now they had thought of a good way to ambush Lung Shiqi. Now we need one of us to show up and attract Lung Shiqi's attention. We also need to fight him. While he's unprepared, the other 3 will attack with all their strength. Lung Shiqi will definitely die or be crippled. Six Directions Spirit Sovereign looked at the other three as he spoke. The four of them looked at each other, and finally looked at Enigma Flame Taoist. Among the four of them, only Enigma Flame Taoist had not seen Lung Shiqi before, so there was no grudge between them. Lung Shiqi would never think that Enigma Flame Taoist was a trap. Enigma Flame Taoist immediately felt great pressure, but the arrow was already knocked, so he could only agree. Not long after, Lung Shiqi passed by the palace and found two Heaven Origin Realm cultivators of the Thunderblaze dynasty fleeing in a sorry state. He subconsciously scanned with his divine perception, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. His cultivation had long surpassed the mystic comprehending realm. No matter how well Six Directions Spirit Sovereign and the other two hid, they were still instantly discovered by him. Lung Shiqi was filled with killing intent as he thought. Good fella, so they wanted to ambush me. Just nice, I need a few mystic comprehending realm heads. He then descended from the sky and stood in front of Lung Shiqi. When the two Heavenly Origin Realm martial artists saw Lung Shiqi, they were shocked. Lung Shiqi run. This old man is a Tongxian Realm martial artist. Lung Shiqi didn't say anything. He waved his hand, and a powerful force sent the two men hundreds of miles away. He asked coldly, "Who are you? Why are you chasing after the people of my Thunderblaze dynasty?" Enigma Flame Old Man put on an act and even mocked. "Who are you to dare meddle in this old master's business? Besides, the treasures in this holy city are ownerless. Whoever is stronger will own them. Leave quickly, and this old man will spare your life for now." Lung Shiqi seemed to have gone mad. "Whoever you say is stronger will be the winner. Let's see who is stronger." Before he finished speaking, the ash wolf behind him howled at the moon and punched out, shaking the mountains and shaking the earth. Enigma Flame Old Man's face was filled with anger, but he was laughing in his heart. As expected, he's still young. Just a few words and he's already enraged. He formed a strange seal with both hands, and a demonic god phantom dyed in dark green flames appeared behind him. It held the Inferno Divine Spear, and stabbed at Lung Shiqi. The terrifying law of fire cleansed the void, and the divine spear broke Lung Shiqi's punch. Lung Shiqi clenched his fists, and a loud explosion sounded. The ear-piercing sound of the explosion scattered the surrounding heaven and earth origin chi. His pure physical strength almost tore the void apart. Enigma Flame Old Man's Inferno Divine Spear was directly shattered by the punch, and even the flame divinity behind him shook. What powerful strength! Enigma Flame Old Man was shocked. He finally experienced what the Divine Lotus Fairy felt. If he were to fight Lung Shiqi alone, he would probably be suppressed from start to finish. However, he knew that now was not the best time for Six Directions Spirit Sovereign and the others to make a move. He changed the seal in his hand, and a strange fire god bow condensed in the flame divinity's hand. The dark green flames became more and more gloomy, no longer burning the sky. Instead, they turned into eroding flames. Just the aura alone made his primordial spirit feel a burning pain. Lung Shiqi's body shone with golden light, and the roars of dragons filled the sky. 9 giant dragons burning with raging flames roared out, and the law of fire in the world almost condensed into substance. Half of the sky was dyed red gold. This was the red gold earth dragon flame, which had evolved into its ultimate state, and was able to trigger the law of heaven and earth. In an instant, the overbearing burning power of the red gold earth dragon flame began to melt Enigma Flame Old Man's divine phantom. He could not even shoot out the arrows of eroding flames, and was forced to retreat. He found it even harder to believe that he would be defeated by flames. There were many spirit cultivators in the world who cultivated flames, but he was the only one in the mystic comprehending realm. This was what he had always been proud of. But now, Lung Shiqi's appearance had almost shattered his belief. Lung Shiqi was proficient in both sword and saber, had a strong physical body, and had even comprehended the law of fire. Why did the heavens allow such a person to exist? Enigma Flame Old Man, who originally had no grudges with Lung Shiqi, felt boundless killing intent for the first time. He secretly shouted, "Why aren't you making a move? What are you waiting for?" In the corner, Ingqinha's palm fell. The surrounding heaven and earth origin chi instantly condensed, and then exploded. The violent power was held in his hand, and even the surrounding void was faintly torn apart. This was the long passed down 9th-level spiritual technique of the Starfall dynasty, the Great Palm Print. At the same time, lotus flowers fell from the sky like rain. Each lotus flower contained a terrifying power. The divine lotus fairy made a hand seal, and countless lotus flowers exploded. Not only did they ignite the power of heaven and earth, but they also cooperated with Ingqinha's power to seal off all of Leng Shiqi's escape routes. Finally, 6 Directions Spirit Sovereign brazenly made his move. Above the 9 heavens, divine light bloomed and tore open the sky. 6 divine statues that seemed to have come from ancient times descended. At this moment, the space seemed to stagnate. The power was so strong that even heaven and earth could not withstand it. It was not the 6 Directions divine statues, but the 6 Directions sacred statues. It was an object that 6 Directions Holy Sovereign had created back then. Every time the 6 Directions sacred statues were used, it would consume a large amount of origin energy. In order to kill Leng Shiqi, 6 Directions Spirit Sovereign did not hold back at all. Leng Shiqi's expression did not change. The 10,000 Beasts Dharma idol instantly appeared around him. The phantom of the divine beast supported him, causing his physical strength to reach the limit. He still threw out a simple punch, but this punch faintly caused the heavens and earth to tremble. The power of the punch, which could shatter all things, directly shattered the great Yuan splitting palm, and even blasted the lotus flowers that filled the sky into pieces. It was also at this moment that the eyes of the 6 sacred statues lit up with a terrifying divine light. It was as if they had come to life. They formed seals one after another, and countless divine light condensed into a heavenly net in midair that fell towards Leng Shiqi. There was the power of wind and fire, as well as the power of life and slaughter, saber force, sword intent, and various other powers. These 6 sacred statues were like 6 mystic comprehending realm elites. Chapter 925. Leng Shiqi mumbled as the holy statues of 6 harmonies descended with boundless divine aura. They do look like Ascension Realm cultivators, but it's just a facade. What holy statues of 6 harmonies? They're just a bunch of inanimate objects. The sword will of death exploded, forming 6 sword shadows behind Leng Shiqi. Countless thoughts of death, resentment, and hatred spread out. This was the most extreme sort of evil thoughts in the world, and it should not exist in this world. The 6 sword shadows slashed out instantly, heading straight for the 6 holy statues. In an instant, the laws of heaven and earth shook, and the space exploded. The sword of evil thoughts was far more terrifying than anyone had expected. It broke through the various forces like the heavenly net, and landed heavily on the holy statues. With a series of loud bangs, the heavenly net was torn apart, and even the 6 idols had a clear crack on them. How is this possible? 6 Harmonies' spiritual supremacy was shocked and furious. What kind of sword principle was that? It could easily break the heavenly net, and even damage his holy statues. Each holy statue was personally created by 6 Harmonies' spiritual supremacy, and it was not something a Tongxian realm cultivator could break. While he was shocked, his heart was bleeding. Not only did the holy statues he summoned lose their saint power, but they were also damaged. It was as if a piece of his heart had been dug out. Of course, it was impossible to do this with just the sword principle of death. Leng Shiqi had attached a trace of the law of reincarnation to the sword principle of death. Any force that came into contact with the law of reincarnation would be rotated thousands of times in an instant until it disappeared without a trace. The combined attack of 4 Tongxian realm cultivators had been completely neutralized by Leng Shiqi. It's my turn. He smiled coldly. With a flip of his hand, a dark golden brilliance spread out, forming a dark golden canopy hundreds of miles wide in the blink of an eye. Immediately, 6 Harmonies' spiritual supremacy, and the other 3 Tongxian realm cultivators felt 1,000-fold, 10,000-fold gravity on their bodies. The ground cracked and collapsed continuously, and it only stopped after a few hundred feet. The 4 Tongxian realm cultivators were surrounded by spiritual light of various colors, and the power of law protected their bodies. Even so, it could not hide the shock on their faces. The law of gravity. He has mastered the law of earth as well. No, we're all Tongxian realm cultivators. Why is his gravity suppressing all four of us? It's you, it's all you. Other than being shocked, the four of them had different reactions. Ing Qinhe, profound flame Taoist, and Sacred Lotus Fairy were even more incredulous. As for Sixth Direction Spirit Sovereign, he seemed to have recalled something. He finally understood that the Tongxian realm cultivator, who had stopped him in the imperial capital, was Leng Shiqi. That's true, Leng Shiqi. From the beginning to the end, the person who ruined his plans again and again was Leng Shiqi. The Sixth Direction spiritual sovereign was seething with anger, and his spiritual power suddenly erupted. He actually forcibly withstood the 10,000-fold gravity and pointed a finger at the sky. Divine light condensed in midair like a cage, wanting to strangle Leng Shiqi within it. Do you think there's only gravity? Leng Shiqi pointed with his finger, and an unremarkable black sphere suddenly appeared near Enigma Flame Maestro. Immediately after, a terrifying suction force emerged from the black sphere. Everything in the surroundings, including the vital energy of heaven and earth, including the power of laws, and even Sixth Direction's spiritual sovereign's boundless divine light, was forcefully pulled toward this side. This was not a gravitational space, but a space of two extremes. What the hell? Enigma Flame Maestro could not help but curse when he saw the divine light surging toward him. He was already resisting the 10,000 times gravity. In a hurry, he closed and opened his eyes, and his eyes turned pitch black, as if they were burning with black flames. It looked extremely evil. Enigma Flame Maestro's aura suddenly skyrocketed. He chanted a strange incantation, and a chilly wind blew in midair. The mournful wails of evil spirits rang out, and the deathly aura and boundless flames condensed into a strange demon god that shattered Sixth Direction's spiritual sovereign's divine light. The other three people were also in a bad situation. They were affected by the gravitational force and the suction force at the same time. The spiritual power in their bodies was constantly churning, and they were almost out of control. The four people who were supposed to join forces to kill Leng Shiqi were now suppressed by him alone. He was fighting 1 against 4, but he still had the upper hand. Faced with this situation, Sixth Direction's spiritual sovereign was furious. Divine Lotus Fairy, Ing Qinhe, why did the two of you hold back when you launched the surprise attack? What's the use of using such probing attacks? If you attacked with all your strength, Leng Shiqi would definitely be at a disadvantage and killed by us. How could there be such a situation now? The two people's faces were as black as the bottom of a pot. They did hold back, but they did not do it on purpose. On the contrary, they also wanted to kill Leng Shiqi. Moreover, the two of them did indeed block all of Leng Shiqi's escape routes. If it were any other metaphysical realm cultivator, they would have no way to retreat, and would have to face the Sixth Direction's sacred statue directly. They had calculated well, but they did not expect Leng Shiqi to be stronger than they had imagined. Sixth Direction's spiritual sovereign knew that it was useless to say these things now. He transmitted his voice. He must have consumed a lot of energy to maintain the law of earth of this intensity. We will attack with defense. Even if we have to exhaust him, we can still kill him. Also, I hope that no one will continue to hide their strength. If we can't take him down today, not only will we lose face, we will also offend this expert. Then, no one will have a good life in the future. The Divine Lotus Fairy gritted her teeth. Her hands fluttered as she made a series of hand seals. The illusory kingdom descended once again. She used the power of her kingdom to forcefully resist Leng Shiqi's space of two extremes. Leng Shiqi's eyes turned cold. He stretched out his hand and grabbed. In an instant, stars appeared like the Milky Way. Let's see if the power of your kingdom or the power of the stars is stronger. The universe of stars seemed to form a world of its own. It slowly pressed down. The terrifying suppressive force shattered the illusory kingdom in an instant. The Divine Lotus Fairy groaned. Clearly, she had suffered some backlash. An illusory image of a divine lotus appeared behind her. Layers of lotus flowers bloomed one after another, emitting waves of evil light. The white lotus was bewitching. Countless lotus petals danced in the air, but they had the ability to seduce one's soul. Leng Shiqi only glanced at them. His expression froze, and the light in his eyes seemed to be a little sluggish. "Quick, I can only restrain him for an instant," the divine Lotus Fairy immediately shouted. "A chance." Enigmatic flame Taoist's figure moved. The black flame demon god raised evil flames that filled the sky. They transformed into ghosts and howled as they charged at Leng Shiqi. Ying Qinhe's hands danced. There was no spiritual light, but one could feel the power of law being drawn by him. It was as if invisible threads were condensing. The invisible silk thread couldn't be caught in the slightest trace as it silently wrapped itself around Leng Shiqi's body. At that moment, Leng Shiqi suddenly felt the power in his body rapidly dissipating. It was as if the threads were sucking it away. Six Directions Spirit Sovereign's face flushed red. His body transformed into 6 streaks of spiritual light and sank into the 6 sacred statues. Immediately after, the 6 sacred statues stood there like real people, forming a combined attack array. Myriad phenomena appeared in the sky. In the end, it evolved into a dreamlike and incomparably beautiful Myriad Worlds painting. Chapter 926. The picture of Myriad Worlds was filled with a terrifying power that could sweep across the world and destroy everything in its path. Leng Shiqi seemed to be in a daze as he said slowly, "Illusions? I know them too." He didn't seem to make any movements, but a white light suddenly appeared and spread hundreds of miles away at an extremely fast speed. The consciousness of the 4 people in the space of 2 extremes was immediately attacked and pulled into an illusion in the blink of an eye. Illusions, divine illusion sky. This type of illusion had already surpassed the form of illusions. It directly invaded one's primordial spirit, tampered with one's memories, and changed one's thoughts without one's knowledge. Just like 6 Directions spiritual supremacy at this moment, he maintained the picture of Myriad Worlds, and was about to crush Leng Shiqi's starry sky universe. However, at this moment he suddenly felt a sense of fear towards Leng Shiqi. He did not know where this feeling of fear came from, but it was a fear that came from his bones and soul. The intense fear caused 6 Directions spiritual supremacy's spiritual energy to become unstable, and the picture of Myriad Worlds even showed signs of collapsing. However, 6 Directions spiritual supremacy was not an ordinary person. Although he was afraid, he wanted to kill Leng Shiqi more. Boom boom. The starry sky universe suddenly shattered, and the picture of Myriad Worlds finally suppressed the space of 2 extremes. Under the influence of the space of 2 extremes and the divine illusion sky, you still have such a strong combat power. 6 Directions spiritual supremacy is indeed the successor of the 4 sages. Leng Shiqi could not help but think highly of 6 Directions spiritual supremacy. He waved one hand, and in an instant, the law of earth surged. 36 earth-shattering dragons broke out from the ground and roared. As the power of earth exploded, the 36 earth-shattering dragons intertwined and tore at the sky. They collided with the picture of Myriad Worlds. At the same time, Leng Shiqi reached out and grabbed. The blurry starlight transformed into an arm that grabbed Ying Qinhe, who was still in the illusion, tightly. They were both under the divine illusion sky, but 6 Directions spiritual supremacy's combat power did not decrease, while Ying Qinhe was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Therefore, even though they were both in the mystic comprehending state, the difference in their abilities was huge. At this moment, Ying Qinhe finally regained his senses. However, what awaited him was Leng Shiqi's heaven-shaking fist. As the fist landed, the formless energy around Ying Qinhe's body surged madly, but it was unable to stop it. Leng Shiqi's fist landed squarely on Ying Qinhe. The ferocious power of 10,000 beasts strangled all the meridians in his body, causing his face to contort in an instant. Leng Shiqi then lightly tapped Ying Qinhe's forehead with a finger. Instantly, boundless death energy erupted. The Thunderflame Dynasty's new Tongxian realm expert, Ying Qinhe, had fallen. It had to be said that Ying Qinhe was the weakest of the 4. From beginning to end, he posed almost no threat to Leng Shiqi. At most, he could only use some restrictive spiritual techniques. No matter what, he was still a Tongxian realm expert. Perhaps he had some trump cards that he had yet to use, or perhaps he was preparing a killing move. However, it was a pity that it was all too late. As the saying goes, It is better to cut off one finger than to injure all 10. Killing one person first would greatly reduce the pressure on the other 3, but the pressure on the other 3 would greatly increase. Leng Shiqi took away Ng Qinha's soul and said in a low voice, 1. At the side, the Divine Lotus Fairy woke up the moment Leng Shiqi killed Ng Qinha. She just happened to see the scene of Ng Qinha's death. A sense of terror arose spontaneously. This was not caused by an illusion. At this moment, the Divine Lotus Fairy truly felt the terror of Leng Shiqi. In a situation of 1 against 4, not only did he easily gain the upper hand, he even killed Ng Qinha in a few moves. The reason why the 4 of them had to work together to kill Leng Shiqi was because it was too difficult to kill a Tongxian realm expert. But now, it seemed that it was not that difficult. Leng Shiqi slightly turned his head and looked at the Divine Lotus Fairy. This glance caused the Divine Lotus Fairy's body to turn cold. She cried out in alarm, "Quickly kill him!" Enigmatic Flame Elder was startled awake. When he saw Ng Qinha's corpse, his shock was no less than the Divine Lotus Fairy's. 6 Direction Spirit Elder held up the Myriad Worlds map and saw that the 30 Earth Dragons had been destroyed. He was about to speak when Leng Shiqi casually shot out a gray sword chi. However, it was this inconspicuous sword chi that made 6 Direction Spirit Elder feel an extremely terrifying threat. It also made him swallow back the words he was about to say. Leng Shiqi no longer paid attention to 6 Direction Spirit Elder. He moved his hands. One hand shone with resplendent starlight, while the other hand was surrounded by black chi. Divine Lotus Fairy and Enigmatic Flame Elder were about to counterattack when the scene in front of them suddenly changed. Enigmatic Flame Elder appeared in a vast universe. The galaxy flowed, and nebulas filled the air. Suddenly, the nebulas began to slowly rotate. It seemed slow, but in the blink of an eye, they condensed into 6 huge whirlpools the size of the sky. 6 completely different but powerful forces were emitted. Enigmatic Flame Elder's spiritual power erupted, and flames rose around him. However, what shocked him was that the flames he had cultivated his entire life were suppressed by more than half here. He originally wanted to summon Demon God Black Flame, but he couldn't even summon a prototype. Only now did he realize that in this universe, the power of law was abnormally thin. In other words, he couldn't even use half of his strength. For the first time, Enigmatic Flame Elder felt despair. If he continued to fight, he would very likely follow in Ng Qinha's footsteps. He said with a slight panic, "No, this old man has no enmity with you. This old man was just tempted by the benefits. This old man will retreat now. In the future, wherever you go, this old man will retreat 10,000 miles." Unfortunately, before he could finish his words, countless monsters emerged from the 6 vortexes. Some were like indifferent gods, some were humans, and most of them were all kinds of strange creatures. Enigmatic Flame Elder's body was instantly devoured by the countless monsters. Not even his bones were left. On the other side, the Divine Lotus Fairy had arrived in darkness. The extreme darkness made it so that she couldn't even see herself. The Divine Lotus Fairy moved her hand seals, and golden lotuses shone around her, illuminating her surroundings. However, there was nothing here, only darkness. Then, she suddenly realized that her golden lotuses were actually being devoured by the darkness. What was even more terrifying was that no matter how many golden lotuses she summoned, they no longer appeared. It was as if they had been ruthlessly devoured by the darkness as soon as they appeared. When the last golden lotus around her dissipated, only endless darkness remained. Even if she used all her strength, she couldn't create the slightest bit of light. She, a dignified Tongxian realm expert, was actually trapped in darkness. If Leng Shiqi attacked at this time, she definitely wouldn't be able to resist. She began to panic. In fact, without her noticing, the darkness had already begun to devour her body, starting from her fingernails, slowly to her hands and feet, to her heart, to her head. By the time the Divine Lotus Fairy noticed this, her hands and feet were already gone. In the boundless darkness, there was only her scream, and nothing else. In the space of 2 extremes, Enigmatic Flame Elder and Divine Lotus Fairy's bodies disappeared at the same time, and then they never appeared again. Leng Shiqi clapped his hands and said, 3 now. Chapter 927. Enigmatic Flame Elder and Divine Lotus Fairy disappeared one after another. Six Directions Spirit Sovereign's eyelids twitched when he saw this. However, he was not in the mood to care, and could only try his best to resist the gray sword chi. The seemingly ordinary sword chi directly pierced through the myriad worlds painting. Wherever the sword chi went, the myriad worlds and heavens were destroyed. Six Directions Spirit Sovereign was shocked and furious. He controlled the Six Directions holy statue to continuously transform the heavens before he could block the sword chi. What sword chi is this? How can it be so terrifying? Six Directions Spirit Sovereign could not understand. The myriad worlds painting that he had used all his strength to display was already his strongest trump card. But it had almost failed to block that sword chi. How strong was Lung Shichi? Every time Lung Shichi attacked, it would overturn everyone's understanding of him. Not long ago, Six Directions Spirit Sovereign used his spirit eyes to see the battle between Lung Shichi and Divine Lotus Fairy from afar and recognized Lung Shichi's identity. However, at that time, Lung Shichi's strength was only at the middle level of the Mystic Comprehending Realm. Although there was no specific division in the Mystic Comprehending Realm, the more laws one comprehended, the stronger one would naturally become. The dozen or so Mystic Comprehending Realm cultivators in the world could be divided into three levels. The first level was those who had just entered the Mystic Comprehending Realm, like Yingqin He. It was extremely difficult to comprehend the laws, and they had only cultivated for a short time, so their strength was naturally at the bottom. The second level was those like Divine Lotus Fairy and Enigmatic Flame Elder. They had lived for hundreds of years, so their foundation and laws were definitely not weak. It was a pity that they were independent cultivators after all. Although they could easily create an extraordinary organization with their strength, they were nowhere close to organizations like the Yin and Yang Halls, the Three Empires, and the Four Saints spiritual realms that had existed for ages. The strongest group was naturally the Mystic Comprehending Realm cultivators mentioned above. Six Directions Spirit Sovereign felt that his strength could definitely rank in the top 5 among all the Mystic Comprehending Realm cultivators. When Lung Shichi had faced the joint attack of the four, he had neutralized their attacks one by one. The strength he had displayed was clearly stronger than Enigma Flame Maestro's. At that time, Six Directions Spirit Senior had also been slightly surprised. In his heart, he still believed that Lung Shichi could not possibly be stronger than him. However, as Lung Shichi used the space of two extremes, the starry universe, and the divine illusion sky, he used the law of earth, the law of stars, and the law of illusion respectively. After that, he killed Yingqin with a single strike. The fate of Enigma Flame Old Man and Divine Lotus Fairy was unknown. How could a person cultivate so many different laws at the same time? Was he still human? At this moment, Six Directions Spiritual Supremacy had to admit that he was no match for Lung Shichi. What was the upper limit of Lung Shichi's strength? How many people in the world could defeat him? The most frightening thing was that when Lung Shichi stretched out his 5 fingers, 6 gray sword energies appeared behind him at the same time. There were 6 of them. Just one of them had almost caused Six Directions Spiritual Lord's universe map to collapse. 6 streaks of sword aura? What a joke. Six Directions Spiritual Lord's heart was filled with regret. Why did he have to kill Lung Shichi and provoke such a terrifying existence? Of course, he was more afraid. That's right, the arrogant Six Directions Spiritual Lord was afraid. He knew that he could not withstand the 6 streaks of sword aura, and could only escape now. To think that he, the great Six Directions Spiritual Lord, had joined forces with 3 ethereal comprehending cultivators to kill Lung Shichi. In the end, 3 of them died, and he had to escape pathetically. This was the biggest joke in the world. However, Six Directions Spiritual Lord had underestimated the power of the sword aura. The 6 streaks of sword aura seemed to have crossed space and swept past the universe map, heading straight for the Six Directions holy statue. Six Directions Spiritual Lord's divine thought was attached to the Six Directions holy statue. He was shocked and immediately left the Six Directions holy statue. The divine light around him shone brightly and vaguely formed a magic array. With a series of crisp sounds, the indestructible Six Directions holy statue was shattered and turned into powder. When Lung Shichi saw the magic array, He recalled that Six Directions' spiritual lord had traveled tens of thousands of miles to reach the Blood Garment Pavilion. It must be a magic array similar to the interdomain teleportation formation. If Six Directions' spiritual lord escaped, there would be endless trouble in the future. He did not hide his strength anymore. With a wave of his hand, tens of thousands of streaks of sword aura swept across heaven and earth. Each streak of sword aura was the same sword aura that had easily destroyed the Six Directions' holy statue. Six Directions' spiritual lord's movements instantly froze. He was completely stunned. It was only at this moment that he realized that there was an almost undetectable light gray thread lingering around each of the sword aura. It was these threads that made the sword aura so powerful. Tens of thousands of streaks of sword aura sliced through heaven and earth. The void shattered and instantly engulfed Six Directions' spiritual lord. La thread, you are heaven-reaching. At the moment of his death, Six Directions' spiritual lord finally understood. Lung Shiqi was not in the heavenly origin realm, nor was he in the Tongxian realm. Instead, he was in the legendary Tongxian realm. Comprehending the power of the laws of heaven and earth was the Tongxian realm. Comprehending a certain law to the extreme would allow one to materialize the law and condense the law thread. At this time, a spirit cultivator would be half a step into the Tongxian realm. Next, as long as he passed the Tongxian tribulation, he would be recognized by heaven and earth. From then on, he would stand above the nine heavens and look down on all living things. This was the Tongxian realm. However, a Tongxian realm cultivator had not appeared for a long time. Only then did Six Directions' spiritual lord realize how stupid he was. He actually took the initiative to ambush and kill a Tongxian realm cultivator. He did not die in vain. Lung Shiqi took Six Directions' spiritual lord's soul, and was satisfied. He opened the territory system interface. Mansion of the Dead's current level, rank 8. Mansion of the Dead's upgrade requirements, 1. Accumulate 500,000 merit points, 2431-550-0000. 2. Collect 2 super souls for 110. 3. 128-0000 system coins. Initially, he planned to take advantage of the opening of the Holy City and the gathering of all the Tongxian realm cultivators in the world to complete one of the Mansion of the Dead's upgrade requirements. Kill 10 Tongxian realm cultivators. Originally, he thought it would be a little troublesome. Now 4 of them came to him. After this battle, Lung Shiqi clearly knew that his strength was far above the Tongxian realm. He had comprehended the law of reincarnation and condensed the law thread. However, he did not receive the Tongxian tribulation again, so he was not sure whether he was in the Tongxian realm or not. He had once fought with Meng Tianzong, who had recovered his cultivation. Both of them were evenly matched. Of course, that was just a spar and not a fight to the death. In the past 10 years, he had never stopped accumulating his strength. He had constantly tapped into his potential and comprehended many kinds of law powers. He knew that no matter how many law powers he had, they would not be of much use when facing the will of heaven and earth. However, his opponents were not only the will of heaven and earth, but also many spirit cultivators. Today's battle was just a practice for him. When he could fight a Tongxian realm cultivator head-on, he would know how strong he was. After a simple rest, Lung Shiqi prepared to continue searching for the passage out of the falling star continent. At this moment, Tu Deng sent a message through the Mansion of the Dead. Found it. Chapter 928. There was no sun, moon, or stars in this world fragment, and the sky was bare. The only exception was the starry sky that spanned several miles. The stars formed a mystical pattern, and 2 figures were standing under the star map, facing each other. One of them was wearing a kasaya, and his hands were clasped together in a benevolent manner. He was Tu Deng. Tu Deng established Buddhism in the falling star continent, and he comprehended Buddhist techniques from the scriptures. He had already jumped out of the cultivation system of this world. The current Buddhism was the state religion of the West Province, and its disciples were all over the West Province. There were even many believers in the Falling Star Dynasty and Thunderfire Dynasty. Standing opposite him was Huang Wei Lingzun of the Four Saints spiritual realm. Huang Wei Lingzun stared at Tu Deng. Whether it was Tu Deng's strange attire or the aura he had never seen before, they all made him very curious. Of course, other than curiosity, there was more fear. Both sides had already fought before, and Huang Wei Lingzun had suffered a loss with just one move. He quietly glanced at the star map above his head. Those stars were slowly moving, and they vaguely formed a door. A faint trace of world energy was emitted. Huang Wei Lingzun, who knew ancient secrets, naturally guessed that it was most likely a legend passed down by his ancestors, the passage to leave the falling star continent. Huang Wei Lingzun had been in the mystic comprehending realm for a long time, especially in the past 100 years, and he felt that if he continued to waste his energy like this, he would probably die of old age in this realm. Only by leaving the falling star continent and going to a wider world could he have a chance to break through again. The reason why Tu Deng and Huang Wei Lingzun were staring at each other was not only because the door had not been completed, but also because there was a layer of formation under the star map. This formation did not have any grades, or it would be more appropriate to describe it as a simple restriction. It was the kind of restriction that an ordinary spiritual pulse realm expert could casually set up, and it had a certain blocking effect. However, the power of this restriction was actually the power of the Holy Spirit. Only Holy Spirit realm experts like the four saints could control this power. It could only be said that it was a fantasy to rely on their power to break this restriction. The crux of the matter was that neither of them was proficient in formations, and it was impossible for them to leave so easily. They could only stare at each other here. After Tu Deng fought with Huang Wei Spirit Sage, he contacted Leng Shiqi. Through the underworld, Leng Shiqi immediately rushed over. However, he didn't directly appear beside Tu Deng. Instead, he appeared several dozen li away and released his mystic comprehending aura without concealing it. Huang Wei's spiritual sovereign quickly sensed this aura and frowned. Of course, he didn't want more people to find this place. However, he also hoped that there would be one or two formation-breaking experts. Perhaps they would have a way to break the restriction. When Leng Shiqi arrived, Huang Wei Lingzun revealed a puzzled expression and immediately said, "You have hidden yourself quite deeply. What is your name?" Leng Shiqi. You are the Thunderfire Dynasty's king of the West Desolation. I didn't expect you to break through to the mystic comprehending realm at such a young age. Impressive. Huang Wei Lingzun made some small talk and then asked, "Are you proficient in formations?" Leng Shiqi raised his head and looked at the restriction and the star field map. He understood and then shook his head. "I am ashamed, I have never dabbled in formations." He also felt that it was a pity. He was the first to find the clues of the passage, but he was blocked by a restriction. Leng Shiqi transmitted his voice. "Great Master Tu Deng, is this restriction really unbreakable?" Actually, this old monk was the first to discover this place. I tried to move it, but I couldn't move it at all. Tu Deng's true strength was definitely above the mystic comprehending realm. Even he couldn't do anything to the restriction. It seemed that it was indeed a restriction set up by a Holy Spirit realm expert. Right now they could only use the stupidest method, which was to wait. The space of this world fragment wasn't too big. With the speed of a mystic comprehending realm expert, it would only take a few days to go around it. It was only a matter of time before they discovered this place. They could only wait for the remaining mystic comprehending realm experts to gather. Perhaps there would be someone who knew how to break the restriction. Although there were only 13 mystic comprehending realm experts who came in and 4 of them died, that didn't include Leng Shiqi and Tu Deng. Moreover, they weren't just mystic comprehending realm experts. Tu Deng, Meng Tianzong, and Leng Shiqi had the battle strength of 3 mystic comprehending realm experts. In addition, Meng Tianzong had predicted that there would be other mystic comprehending realm experts entering the holy city. If they couldn't break the restriction with such a powerful force, Leng Shiqi would admit defeat. Sure enough, after 2 days, there were more than 10 people gathered in front of the star field map. As for the Heaven Origin realm experts of the Thunderfire Dynasty, they didn't come over. Instead, they went to look for all kinds of treasures. Strangely, there were a few unfamiliar faces among these people. For example, the beggar, the blue-robed man, and the disfigured youth. In addition to Tu Deng and Leng Shiqi, Almost half of the people in this group were mystic comprehending realm experts that the world didn't know. On the contrary, the veteran mystic comprehending realm experts like Six Directions Spirit Sovereign and Enigmatic Flame Elder didn't come. Wuma Yuanjie of the Starfall dynasty frowned because Ingqinha didn't appear either. Could it be that something happened? There isn't much danger in this secret realm, and no one can easily kill him. That's strange. Luo Ying's Spirit Sovereign glanced at them one by one. She stroked her lips and said, "Haha, there are indeed crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the Starfall continent. Luo Ying admires the few of you who are willing to remain silent and don't care about power and glory." Huang Wei Spirit Sovereign interrupted. "There's no need for pleasantries. Since you're able to come here, you must know the secret. Now whether or not you can break this restriction is the key. I don't know about the others, but Luo Ying, you're an expert in the art of formations." Luo Ying's Spirit Sovereign beamed. "I've already seen the restriction. It's easy to break it, but it's also difficult." Her words instantly attracted everyone's attention. Wu Ji Spirit Sovereign hurriedly said, "Let's hear it." "The restriction isn't complicated at all. It's just casually laid down. It's just that the person who laid down the restriction is an unreachable sacred spirit expert. If we want to break the restriction, we can't use brute force, but we also need to use brute force. First of all, the strength of a sacred spirit expert is beyond our reach. However, the power of this restriction won't regenerate. As long as we continue to attack the restriction and slowly wear it down, we'll be able to break it sooner or later. According to what you said, it's too slow. Who knows when we'll be able to break the restriction? The hundreds of Heaven Origin realm experts outside could come in at any time. Their strength isn't strong, but if they join forces, they'll cause us quite a bit of trouble." Huang Wei Spirit Sovereign said in a deep voice. "I naturally won't use such a stupid method. We can lay down a joint attack formation, and then concentrate all of our strength on a single point. It'll be much easier to break the restriction. Perhaps it won't be long before we'll be able to break the restriction." Chapter 929. The method was not that brilliant, but it seemed to be the only way. Luo Ying's Spirit Elder quietly glanced at Jade Forest and Pure Yang Temple's Tongxian realm experts. Among the people present, these two had not spoken a word from the beginning to the end. It seemed that no one had seen them make a move, making them extremely mysterious. She rolled her eyes and said to Huang Wei Spirit Elder, "It is said that Huang Wei Spiritual Domain has a sword that surpasses the 9th rank. It is the Huang Wei Sacred Sword that was left behind by Huang Wei Sacred Venerable. I suggest that we gather all our strength and put it into the Huang Wei Sacred Sword. This way, we will have a higher chance of breaking the formation." Luo Ying, Huang Wei Spirit Elder was a little angry. The Huang Wei Sacred Sword was their spiritual domain's most precious treasure and a hidden trump card. Just like how most of the Tongxian realm experts knew that Six Directions Spirit Elder had the powerful Six Directions Divine Statues, they did not know that he actually had six Directions Divine Statues that had been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years. This was the foundation of the 4 sacred domains. However, this trump card was revealed by Luo Ying's Spirit Elder in front of everyone. This was extremely disadvantageous for Huang Wei Spirit Elder in future battles. Others would definitely be on guard against the Huang Wei Sacred Sword. Luo Ying's Spirit Elder smiled and said, "Huang Wei Spirit Elder, don't hide it. After all, breaking the formation is beneficial to everyone." She directly used everyone to pressure Huang Wei Spirit Elder. As expected, a few of them spoke. Huang Wei Spirit Elder's face was extremely gloomy. While he was still hesitating, the expert from Pure Yang Temple said, "Take out the Huang Wei Sacred Sword. This formation will definitely be broken." Jade Forest from Nether Temple also said under Lung Shiqi's signal, "Don't waste time." The two experts from Yin and Yang Temple both spoke. Although the two of them did not make a move, there was naturally a reason why Yin and Yang Temple could be ranked above the 3 great empires and 4 sacred domains. Huang Wei Spirit Elder could no longer withstand the pressure, and could only snort. He flipped his hand and took out a heavy treasure sword. This sword looked extremely simple. At first glance, It looked like an ordinary bronze sword. No one would associate it with the Huangwei sacred sword. Spirit Supremacy Luo Ying handed over the joint attack formation to everyone. Even if the others present did not specialize in formations, everyone's comprehension was absolutely superb. They did not need to comprehend it at all, and could directly master it through a comprehensive study. Our powers are all different. If we attack without a purpose, it will instead affect each other. We only need to channel our power into the Royal Might Sacred Sword through the formation. Spirit Sovereign Luo Ying explained. Everyone nodded one after another. Sovereign Might Spirit Sovereign unleashed a sword art, and the Sovereign Might Sacred Sword suddenly blossomed with a golden holy light that illuminated 10,000 miles. The brilliant holy aura made everyone feel an indescribable pressure. It was as if there was a voice in their hearts telling them, kneel. However, these people's wills were as firm as stone. They quickly stabilized their minds. There were also a few people who looked at the Royal Might Sacred Sword with covetous looks in their eyes. No one dared to waste any more time. The power of laws surged as they all focused on the Royal Might Sacred Sword. The Spirit Venerable Royal Aura slashed out and pierced the restriction. With a loud bang, everyone was forced back by a powerful vibration. No one paid any attention to this. They were all staring at the restriction. The restriction shook slightly, and he could vaguely see that the restriction had become thinner. It was really useful. Everyone's expression was shocked. However, the Spirit Venerable Royal Aura's expression turned cold. Everyone, this venerable, did not hide anything. However, some people did not use their full strength. Once this was said, everyone began to have their own ulterior motives. Some people might really be hiding their strength. After all, no one could put their full strength on the table. Being pointed out by the Spirit Venerable Royal Aura, no one's face looked good. However, not long ago, they had forced the Spirit Venerable Royal Aura to take out his trump card. The Spirit Venerable Royal Aura sneered. What? Did this Venerable say something wrong? With the Royal Might Sacred Sword in hand, this Venerable knows best that Luo Ying and Wu Ji's strength is actually at the bottom among everyone. Even if you are slacking, there should be a limit. Also, this brother from the Pure Yang Temple, you transferred the least amount of power to the Sacred Sword. As the dignified Yin and Yang Temple, you can't only have this much ability, right? Being called out in public, the faces of the Spirit Venerable Luo Ying and Spirit Venerable Wu Ji turned ashen. They did not expect the Spirit Venerable Royal Aura to be able to sense everyone's strength so clearly. As for the person from the Pure Yang Temple, he was still a man of few words and did not say a single word. Continue. This Venerable does not wish for anyone to hide their strength. The breaking of the array continued. Everyone went all out and only took half an hour to break the restriction. The instant the array was broken, everyone could not help but sigh. Sure enough, only the Sacred Spirit Sword could deal with the restriction left behind by a Sacred Spirit expert. It was also at this moment that the power of star splendor suddenly bloomed. That majestic power seemed to directly break through this world, causing everyone to be shocked. It turned out that the star field map was not just a door. Even those stars contained boundless power. If they could absorb the power within, they might be able to take a step forward and advance to the connecting heaven realm. Everyone's heart began to heat up. Suddenly, the Spirit Venerable Luo Ying exclaimed, This aura is the expression of the Spirit Venerable Royal Aura, who had put away the sacred sword, also changed slightly. The Spirit Venerable Wu Ji's eyes were filled with doubt. It's the aura of the star race. Finally, the expert from the Pure Yang Temple said such a sentence. Everyone's expression turned cold. The star race could be said to be the taboo of taboos in the falling star continent. No one dared to casually mention it. But now the people from the Pure Yang Temple actually said that the aura of the star race had appeared in the holy city. Moreover, looking at the expressions of the Spirit Venerable Luo Ying and the others, it seemed that they were not wrong. It was said that the holy city was built by the four saints. Why was there the power of the star race inside? They all had such doubts in their hearts, but at this time, no one cared about it. Chen Xian of the Northern Wei Empire directly rushed into the star field. He did not care about the star race. He did not care much about the door. He only wanted to get those stars. Of course, the others could not sit back and do nothing. The sword of the spirit venerable royal aura slashed down. This sword seemed ordinary, but when the sword fell, it instantly exploded. Sword splitting mountains and rivers. Chun Xian pointed out a finger, and a sword light suddenly rose up. Without any attributes, it was the purest sword light. It was also a sword light that displayed the power of the sword principle to the extreme. The long sword tore apart the sword move of the spirit venerable royal aura. But the light of the sword principle was still shining between heaven and earth, and did not dissipate for a long time. The spirit venerable royal aura was slightly stunned, and the others who were about to snatch the stars also slowed down. It was because Chun Xian's strength was far beyond what they knew about him. As everyone knew, the Northern Wei Empire was the weakest among the three empires. Chun Xian, the guardian of the Northern Wei Empire, was at most at the middle level of the metaphysic realm. But the amazing sword move just now had broken the sword move of the spirit venerable royal aura. This move alone showed that his strength was not weaker than the spirit venerable royal aura. The water was getting muddier and muddier. Chapter 930. However, no matter how powerful Chun Xian was, it was impossible for him to suppress so many strong men in the metaphysical state. The sword radiance in Chun Xian's hand split into thousands of beams. The wind and clouds were surging between the sky and the earth. His Tao of the sword was the purest Tao of the sword in this world. There was only the sword, only the sword. Unlike Lung Shiqi, he didn't integrate the will of death and the law of reincarnation into his Tao of the sword. Nor did he have the spiritual venerable spirit chi that could break mountains and rivers. Chun Xian's pure Tao of the sword didn't have any attributes, but it had the sharpest sword intent in the world. This burst of sword intent forced people to temporarily avoid its sharp edge, but in this instant, he had already plucked a star. Then he ignored everyone else and left the place. Some people wanted to stop him, but they realized there were still many stars, more than 20 of them. There was no need to fight with him for the one in Chun Xian's hand. However, someone stopped him. It was the strong man from the Pure Yang Temple. "You can't leave," Chun Xian said in a hoarse voice. "There are so many stars. I'll only take one. Go away. Not even one less. You're courting death." Chun Xian unsheathed his sword. It was a strange longsword without a hilt. The pure extreme sword intent soared into the sky and shocked the gods with one strike. The strong man from the Pure Yang Temple was surrounded by 9 suns that lit up the world. The whole space fragment was filled with dazzling light. There seemed to be a dragon's shadow in each of the suns. As he punched, the 9 dragons roared out and swept over the world. Chun Xian's shocking sword intent melted like snow in the spring. Such a commotion caused those Tongxian realm cultivators who had just started to fight for the stars to stop. The pure yang energy that surged towards them caused their breathing to stop, and the might that reached the heavens caused boundless waves to surge in their hearts. It was even more so for Chun Xian. He was facing the pure yang energy directly. At the moment, the pure yang energy had entered his body. There was a warm feeling in his body, but the energy damaged his meridians one after another. Puff! Chun Xian couldn't help but spit out blood. He said in shock, "That the reaching heaven state." The blue-robed man over there asked, "Who are you?" He only said 4 words. "Pure Yang Sacred Master." Hearing these words, everyone was speechless. Who didn't know that you were the Pure Yang Sacred Master? You're just wasting your breath. The Pure Yang Temple has not appeared in the world for thousands of years. As for Huangwei Spiritual Sovereign, he suddenly recalled that not long ago, he had mocked and ridiculed the Pure Yang Sacred Master. Now that he thought about it, he felt a chill run down his spine. Lung Shiqi, who had seen all of this, did not care about this. Although he was surprised that the Pure Yang Sacred Master was in the Ascension realm, he was already mentally prepared. What he cared about the most was what the Pure Yang Sacred Master had said. Not one less. Lung Shiqi looked at the star chart again. Some of the brightest stars were moving slowly, roughly forming a portal. These stars will eventually become a portal. It's very likely to be the channel that the Lord of Samsara mentioned. The reason why the pure young sacred master had stopped Chinexayan was because he couldn't let a single star go missing. He actually knew about this. What kind of existence is the pure young temple? He also remembered how Huangwei spiritual sovereign had mocked the pure young sacred master. At that time, the pure young sacred master had contributed the least. Now that he thought about it, it was probably because he had not appeared in the world for a long time, and did not know how much power a Tongxian realm cultivator had. While everyone was still in shock, a figure appeared in the star chart like a ghost. More than half of the Tongxian realm cultivators did not notice his existence. Only 5 people in the crowd turned to look at him. That person simply waved his hand and took away a few stars. He laughed sinisterly and said, "So what if you're in the Ascension realm? When I refine the power of these stars, I'll definitely advance to the Ascension realm. At that time, I'll come and ask the pure young sacred master for advice." After that person finished speaking, his figure started to fade, as if he was about to disappear. It's Night Demon. What a strange movement technique. He actually dares to provoke a Ascension realm cultivator. I'm afraid he hasn't lived long enough. Not necessarily. Night Demon cultivates the law of phantom. If he wants to escape, even an Ascension realm cultivator might not be able to catch him. The others immediately recognized this person. He was the last rogue cultivator among the original 13 Tongxian realm cultivators. This person could be said to be extremely daring. Normally, he would purposely provoke a few Tongxian realm cultivators. He relied on his invincible escape technique, and no one could do anything to him. He had formed many grudges. Seeing this, the pure young sacred master's expression did not change. He did not even have any plans to make a move. However, Lung Shiqi realized that the pure young sacred master was looking at him. It seemed like the sacred master had already seen through Lung Shiqi's strength and knew that he was definitely not in the Tongxian realm. Lung Shiqi naturally would not let Night Demon escape with the stars. Just as he was about to make a move, someone was faster than him. He was Tu Deng. Tu Deng took a step forward and appeared in front of Night Demon. His Buddha Dharma idol appeared and slammed out with his palm. Countless palm shadows descended, each of them having a physical form, and each of them containing a shocking amount of power. The palm shadows sealed the space. Night Demon was shocked. Tu Deng's palm strength was far beyond what he could withstand. It even resembled the pure young sacred master's stance just now. Night Demon did not dare to take it head-on. His figure became dimmer, and he escaped into the void. He only wanted to escape. Who would have thought that Tu Deng would suddenly let out a loud shout? It was like a tangible sound wave. Everyone present felt that it was very normal, but in Yi Mei's ears, it was like a great bell, exploding with a loud bang. Night Demon's figure paused and his face turned pale. He felt that his soul was constantly twisting, as if it was about to split open. He knew that if he delayed any longer, he would definitely die. Night Demon made a prompt decision. He burned his soul and escaped into the void by force. Tu Deng put his palms together, and the golden Arhut avatar appeared behind him. A strong wave of energy burst out from his body. He sat on the ground and chanted scriptures. Instantly, everyone was shocked to find that the Arhut avatar behind him had started to split into thousands. There were not only Arhats, but also Bodhisattvas and Buddhas. All of them bowed to him. Million Buddhas greeting. Night Demon's figure was forced out of the void. He could not move under the pressure of the million Buddhas. As long as Tu Deng had the intention to kill, he could easily take his life right now. Everyone was stunned. First there was Chun Xian and Jianjing. Then there was the pure young sacred master. But now this weirdly dressed unknown person was also a reaching heaven state expert who had the ability to shock the heavens. It was unbelievable that 2 reaching heaven state cultivators had appeared. Originally, these mystic comprehending cultivators, especially the spiritual venerables from the 4 sacred spiritual region, thought that they were the main characters. Now that 2 mystic comprehending cultivators had appeared, it meant that they had completely lost the right to compete. At the end of the day, they were just insignificant characters. Chapter 931. Chen Xian attacked, and a pure young sacred master appeared. Night demon attacked, and another Tu Deng appeared. Good heavens! 2 reaching heaven states were just standing there in front of everyone. It seemed that whoever touched the star would attract reaching heaven state warriors. Who would dare to fight for it? Lung Shiqi pointed out a finger, and the power of death burst out, instantly penetrating Night Demon's head. The few stars he snatched away spun around and flew back into the sky. Night Demon was suppressed by the 10,000 Buddhas to the point that he couldn't resist at all. He died so easily. How could a Tongxian realm cultivator, whose name had shaken the world, die so easily? If the pure young sacred master's attack made everyone feel the power of a reaching heaven realm cultivator, then Tu Deng's attack made them feel the terror of a reaching heaven realm cultivator. Luo Ying Spirit Sovereign, Huang Wei Spirit Sovereign, and the others who were scheming against each other just now felt that they were just like clowns jumping around. What fighting openly and secretly? What deceiving soldiers? In the face of absolute strength, everything was useless. Now no one dared to fight for any of the stars. The mystic comprehending realm cultivators, who were usually high and mighty, stood there fearfully. They were afraid that the pure young sacred master or Tu Deng would end up like Night Demon. The pure young sacred master looked at Tu Deng and said, "Your power is very strange. You are also very strong. You flatter me." Tu Deng only said 2 words, then stopped talking. The pure young sacred master looked at the star field map and said, "The passage is about to open. If you want to go in, go in. However, no one knows whether the passage will be a blessing or a curse. No one can predict whether you will live or die." Everyone started to hesitate. Some of them had strong wills, while others started to waver. Very soon, spiritual Venerable Wu Ji and Chen Xian of the Northern Wei Empire retreated one after another. Spiritual Sovereign Wu Ji was the weakest in the 4 sacred spiritual region, and his presence was also the weakest. He didn't have a strong desire to go to another continent. Chen Xian had the heavy responsibility of protecting the Northern Wei Empire. If something happened to him, the Northern Wei Empire would change hands. Lung Shiqi transmitted his voice to Old Man Qiao. "Old man, a reaching heaven realm cultivator has appeared. The passage must be very dangerous. The Thunderblaze Empire can't do without you. Why don't you not go in?" "This old man has the same idea. Let's go." "No, I want to go in." "What?" Old Man Qiao couldn't help but be surprised. In his mind, Lung Shiqi had infinite potential, and he might even break through the reaching heaven state in the future. There was no need for him to take risks. Lung Shiqi explained, "This master tuting is my good friend. With his protection, I won't be in much danger." Old Master Qiao remembered that after Night Demon was suppressed, it was Lung Shiqi who killed her. It seemed that what he said was true. Since there's a reaching heaven state expert protecting them, you can go in and explore. Who knows, you might be able to obtain some fated chances. However, you have to be extremely careful. Don't act rashly. Staying alive is the most important thing. Old Man Qiao warned him, then left. As for the Jade Forest, he still had an important mission. In the end, Wuma Yuanjia of the Starfall dynasty hesitated for a moment before leaving as well. Ingqinha still had not shown up. Perhaps something had really happened to her. He had to go and look for her. If Ingqinha died here, the burden of the Starfall dynasty would fall on his shoulders again. Coincidentally, the reaching heaven state experts from the 3 dynasties had all left. They were the fetters brought by the dynasties. They could also be considered burdens. No one looked down on the departure of these 5 people. After all, everyone had their own choices and paths. As the stars revolved, it didn't take long for the stars to form a portal, from which a peculiar aura flowed out. It was an aura that they had never felt on the Starfall continent. Everyone knew what was going on, but no one dared to make the first move. The pure young sacred master took a step forward, and went through the portal. Tuding turned into a wisp of Buddhist light and followed him. Only after the 2 reaching heaven state experts went and did the rest of the people follow. This time, they weren't separated. When they went through the portal, they saw a strange and terrifying scene. What entered their eyes was a vast wasteland. Plants that they had never seen before grew everywhere. However, these plants were all withered. The ground was cracked. The wasteland and the aura of decay were everywhere. Other than that, there were spatial cracks scattered in the sky and all around the wasteland. Those present were either reaching heaven or mystic realm experts. They could easily see thousands of miles away. This scene was everywhere. They couldn't confirm anything else, but at least they knew that they were no longer on the Starfall continent. The old beggar suddenly said, "Look, those spatial cracks are constantly twisting. They will even appear and disappear for no reason. Once they encounter them, reaching heaven state experts might be able to save themselves. As for mystic realm experts, they can only pray for themselves." Spirit Sovereign Luo Ying had a strange expression. Although what the old beggar said was true, the two reaching heaven state experts had yet to speak. He wasn't afraid of causing trouble. The more Leng Shiqi looked at the old beggar, the more he couldn't see through him. He secretly sent a message to Tuding. Tuding turned around and asked, "Although I haven't seen many experts in the world, I have heard of them." "I have never heard of you before. May I know your name?" The old beggar smiled, revealing 2 rows of yellow teeth. There seemed to be some stains on them, making him look extremely sloppy. "Old beggar, how can I have a name? Everyone calls me old beggar. I was just lucky enough to cultivate a bit." Lucky? No one believed him. If he was lucky enough to cultivate to such a realm, there wouldn't be so few experts in the world. Seeing the old beggar's stubbornness, Tuding also gave up on probing. At this moment, the door they came in from suddenly closed, completely cutting off their path of retreat. This increased the pressure in everyone's hearts. "Don't panic. Since we are here, let's go in and explore." The old beggar had become more talkative after coming here. "No matter what, I still suggest that we work together to ensure everyone's safety." This suggestion was naturally approved by all the mystic realm experts. The key was whether the two reaching heaven states were willing to bring them along. The Pure Yang Sacred Master and Tuding both nodded silently. Huang Wei Spirit Sovereign and the others relaxed. If they could follow these two reaching heaven states, they could at least avoid a lot of danger. Leng Shiqi, Tuding, the Pure Yang Sacred Master, the old beggar, the blue-robed man, the disfigured youth, Luo Ying Spirit Sovereign, and Huang Wei Spirit Sovereign began to explore the interior of the wasteland. As there were spatial cracks everywhere, they didn't choose to fly. Instead, they relied on their movement techniques to move steadily on the ground. After a long time, the scenery of the wasteland remained the same. No one encountered any danger. Until the second day, they discovered something that overturned everyone's knowledge. Chapter 932. Everyone saw a skeleton. In this empty space, there was a skeleton lying inexplicably. No matter how they looked at it, it was extremely strange. Everyone went forward to take a look, full of vigilance. They found that the skeleton was very complete, and every bone was golden in color. More importantly, it was clearly a corpse, but it was still emitting traces of holy aura. This was the skeleton of a Holy Spirit expert. The skeleton fell in the opposite direction from where they came from, which meant that this former Holy Spirit expert's goal was the direction they came from. That door. Many guesses appeared in everyone's mind, and everyone guessed one possibility. This Holy Spirit expert wanted to return to the falling star continent through the door, but he died halfway. Legend said that this should be the passage to leave the falling star continent, but in fact, the space they were in now was no longer the falling star continent. They had waited for a long time and spent a lot of twists and turns to enter here. Then why did someone choose to come back and die halfway? Even a Holy Spirit expert recognized by the will of heaven and earth had died here. Then what about them? A feeling of uneasiness rose in their hearts. The old beggar boldly stepped forward and flipped over the corpse. Immediately after, a cry of surprise was heard. "There are words here." Leng Shiqi looked over, and there were indeed a few lines of words under the skeleton. The handwriting was very messy, and the depth was different. It looked a bit like it was written before death. "Lies. A big lie. It's all a scam. Run, don't come over." It was just a few short lines, but they were filled with hatred and despair. Just what had he gone through to make a saint spirit expert feel such despair? Up until now, everyone felt that things had already gone beyond their expectations. Was the passage of thoughts really just a lie, a scam? The old beggar lifted one of the skeleton's arms and said, this person's left hand has 6 finger bones. Is there a Holy Spirit expert with this feature in the Falling Star continent? Huangwei Spirit Sovereign's expression changed, and he immediately ran to the old beggar's side, carefully looking at the finger bones of the skeleton. The more he looked, the bigger his eyes became. Then he said with complicated emotions, He is very likely to be the Saint Venerable from tens of thousands of years ago, my ancestor, and the last Saint Spirit expert of the Royal Prestige Spirit region. According to the records left behind by our ancestors, this ancestor left the Falling Star continent through the passage in the Holy City. He said that he was going to seek greater power. Who would have thought that he would end up like this? Everyone's expression changed. Huangwei Spiritual Elder recognized the owner of this skeleton, which proved that this person was indeed from the Falling Star continent. Then what did he mean by those words he left behind? What kind of terrifying existence was at the end of this tunnel? Moreover, if it was only dangerous, he couldn't possibly call it a scam. Now what should we do? Spirit Supremacy Luoying asked. She was already starting to regret her decision. As a Tongxian realm cultivator, she used to be a powerful figure on the Falling Star continent. But now, she was being suppressed by 2 Tongxian realm cultivators, and the corpse of a Holy Spirit expert. She really had a feeling that her future was uncertain. Just as everyone was bewildered, the Pure Yang Sacred Master said in a deep voice, The entrance has already been closed. We have nowhere to go. As for continuing forward, Leng Shiqi continued, the Pure Yang Sacred Master is right. Everyone here is also a top-notch expert of the Falling Star continent. Right now the only way is to continue forward. Otherwise, who can guarantee how long we can survive in this place filled with spatial cracks? Also, did you really not notice that the spiritual energy here is unusually scarce? Not only spiritual energy, but the origin energy of heaven and earth is also pitifully scarce. As for the power of laws, it is far more difficult to trigger here than in the Falling Star continent. Everyone else had naturally noticed this, but no one cared. They were existences who had grasped the laws of heaven and earth. Mere spiritual energy was nothing to them. However, when they heard Leng Shiqi's words and tried to trigger the laws of heaven and earth, they were shocked to find that the laws of heaven and earth were indeed much thinner here. This meant that their battle strength would be greatly reduced here. This space was like heaven and earth compared to the secret realm they were in before. Could this be what the previous Huangwei Spiritual Elder wanted to express? Let's go. The Pure Yang Sacred Master took a step forward. This was like a signal. His back looked somewhat imposing, and the others followed his footsteps one after another. In a place like this where unknown dangers existed, following a heaven completion realm expert was naturally the best choice. Huangwei Spiritual Elder kept the corpse and followed. No one coveted the corpse. After all, it was his ancestor. Actually, there was a voice in the Pure Yang Sacred Master's heart that was guiding him to the depths. It was as if there was something extremely important to him inside. The 8 of them chose to continue forward. They walked even more cautiously. However, not long after, their footsteps stopped again. This was because they discovered another corpse in front of them. It was still a golden skeleton, and it still had the aura of a Holy Spirit. This was the corpse of another Holy Spirit expert. This Holy Spirit expert did not have any special characteristics. No one recognized who he was, and only left a single word, regret. Just by looking at this word, everyone could feel his remorse. Everyone's hearts became heavier. This was already the second one. Would they encounter even more if they continued onwards? There weren't many Holy Spirit experts in the Falling Star continent. In the past hundreds of thousands of years, there were probably only a few hundred. After all, the closer one was to the present, the fewer Holy Spirit experts there would be. 1 corpse, 2 corpses, 3. As everyone went deeper into the wasteland, they discovered more and more corpses. Along the way, the Pure Yang sacred master also collected a corpse. The others did not pay much attention to it. Perhaps it was an ancestor of the Pure Yang temple. The others did not rashly collect the corpse. After all, they were all Holy Spirit experts in the past. Who knew if they would leave behind any methods? This was not something they could bear. Not far away, another 2 corpses entered their sights. The difference was that these 2 corpses were not lying down, but sitting cross-legged on the ground. Everyone looked carefully. One of them was wearing a purple robe and a jade crown. The other was wearing a pitch-black battle armor. There were countless strange beast runes on the battle armor, covering his entire body. The 8 of them were puzzled. At the same time, they were extremely vigilant. Shortly after, an inexplicable caw-caw sound was heard. The 2 corpses actually moved. It was also at this time that the plaza of the Lingbei County's holy city was filled with hundreds of sky origin experts. They had finally arrived. They had also discovered the secret of the 4 stone pillars. Many of the people present were from the 4 sacred regions. It did not take long for them to find a way to enter the holy city. Hundreds of sky origin experts poured into the secret realm. Once they entered the secret realm, they naturally began to wantonly plunder all kinds of treasures. Yushu from the Extreme Blade Hall chuckled. What a good place to kill and rob. I wonder how many sky origin experts will fall here. Brother Lung is really ruthless. Chapter 933. There were 5 types of people in the Sky Origin realm who entered the Holy City. The Thunderblaze Dynasty, the Starfall Dynasty, the Northern Wei Dynasty, the various sects, and the Rogue Cultivators. The experts of the Thunderblaze Dynasty's Hall of Worship had already entered and plundered more than half of the secret realm. Among the remaining people, there were Lung Shiqi's targets. They were the experts of the Starfall Dynasty and the Northern Wei Dynasty's Hall of Worship. As the top fighting force of each dynasty, they were also the pillars of the dynasty. If these experts died in the Holy City, the overall strength of the 2 dynasties would drop by 70 to 80%. Although not all of the Sky Origin stage cultivators were here, and some of the important places needed to be guarded, those who were scattered all over the place wouldn't be able to do much. Not far from Yushu, there were 2 experts from the Northern Wei Empire. Coincidentally, they were in the vicinity and soon met each other. Nether Chi surrounded Yushu, and 4 figures walked out. They were Mingyu Ghost Emperor, Delta Origi, Wu Jing Ghost Emperor Wu Xiang, King Pingding, Xiongming, King Yanluo, Eunuch Gao, and King Biancheng Hateful Blade. Hateful Blade did not enter the passage with Lung Shiqi. First of all, he had just entered the Tongxian realm. His strength could be said to be at the top of the continent, but compared to the Tongxian realm, he was still too far away. Not only did Hateful Blade have to guard the Blood Robe Pavilion, but he also had to kill the experts of the other dynasties. A few people walked out of the Nether Chi with murderous intent, and instantly surrounded the 2 people. The 2 immediately felt the gloomy chi around them, and several dense killing intent enveloped their bodies. Hateful Blade's cold gaze, which pierced through their souls, made them lose the desire to fight. Everyone, is there a misunderstanding? There are no treasures here. No, I still have some good things on me. I'll give them all to you. The 2 were so scared that they almost knelt down and begged for mercy. The dignity of the Sky Origin realm was thrown out of the window. The battle ended very quickly, leaving behind only 2 broken bones. The whole process only took a short while. Hateful Blade did not make a move, treating it as a training for the younger generation. Lung Shiqi had already informed them through the Mansion of the Dead that there were only Wuma Yuanjia and the other 3 mystic comprehending cultivators in the arcane realm. Among them, Old Master Qiao was still on their side. Most likely, spiritual Venerable Wu Ji would not get involved in Dynasty's battle. Therefore, as long as they avoided Wuma Yuanjia and Chen Xian, they could do whatever they wanted. Thus, a cold and sharp knife appeared in the mystic realm. They did not explore the ruins, nor did they fight for treasures. Instead, they killed everyone they saw. It did not take long for news of their whereabouts to spread, causing many people to feel uneasy. However, after careful investigation, they discovered that the people who died were all from the Northern Wei dynasty and the Starfall dynasty. Was this a coincidence, or was it intentional? No matter what the situation was, the experts of the two empires all felt that they were in danger. They stopped looking for treasures and started to group up to save themselves. Even so, there were still people dying tragically. Yushu and the others had actually split up. Once they discovered their target, they would use the underworld to instantly gather. Hence, their whereabouts could be said to be elusive, making it impossible to guard against them. Wuma Yuanjie and Chen Xian naturally knew that someone was assassinating their experts. They were immediately furious. It was obvious that it was the Thunderfire dynasty's doing. The two of them even wanted to personally slaughter the experts of the Thunderfire dynasty. However, Old Master Qiao had not joined the sect. With him around, it was impossible for them to do so. Therefore, Wuma Yuanjie and Chen Xian worked together for the first time. They directly went to Old Master Qiao and suspected that he had done something secretly. At first, Old Master Qiao was very confused when he learned about this. He did not give such an order. After asking around, he found that the Heavenly Origin Realm experts of the Thunderfire dynasty did not receive any orders from His Majesty. This meant that the assassins were not from the Hall of Worship. That was strange. Those who died were all experts from the other two empires. At present, roughly half of the experts of the two empires had died. To them, this was definitely a huge loss. The Starfall dynasty had a deep foundation and could barely bear it. However, the Northern Wei dynasty only had less than 10 Heavenly Origin Realm experts left. It was a pity to see them like this. The heavy losses of the two empires were naturally great news for the Thunderfire dynasty. After they left the Holy City, the Thunderfire dynasty's authority on the continent would rise. Wuma Yuanjie questioned. Old Master Qiao, did you allow your subordinates to slaughter the experts of our Hall of Worship? Chen Xian did not say anything. However, sword light flashed in his eyes. It was as if he would attack at any moment. For the Northern Wei dynasty, he was willing to take only 1 star. For the Northern Wei dynasty, he was willing to give up the opportunity to join the sect. However, it did not take long for more than half of the experts they worshipped to die. This completely infuriated Chen Xian. Old Master Qiao was overjoyed. However, he put on a solemn expression and said, "Why do you say that, Brother Wuma? You should know that the people of the Thunderfire dynasty have been tightly gathered since the beginning. No one acted alone. This is obvious to all. Moreover, the people who entered the Holy City this time are all famous. There are countless people who know them. If anyone acts alone, they will definitely be recognized. Even if their appearance can be hidden, their cultivation base and spiritual techniques cannot be hidden. As far as I know, the people who slaughtered your subordinates all cultivated extreme Yin techniques. They are definitely not from the Thunderfire dynasty. I reckon that the reason they did this is to sow discord and make the 3 of us fight in the Holy City. The most important thing now is not to question the Thunderfire dynasty, but to dig out those people as soon as possible and skin them alive." There were no loopholes in Old Master Qiao's words. First, he removed himself from suspicion. Then he pointed the finger at someone else. In the end, his face was filled with righteous indignation. "It really isn't you?" Wuma Yuanjie stared into Old Master Qiao's eyes. It was as if he wanted to see through him. However, he could not see anything strange. Chen Xian also started to waver. Just as the few of them were in a deadlock, a shocking saber light slashed at them from the horizon. The saber light was like a black waterfall. The chi of the netherworld corroded the heaven and earth. This was an extreme Yin saber light. It was as if it could destroy the world. Wuma Yuanjie, Chen Xian, and Old Master Qiao all frowned. Where did this metaphysical realm cultivator come from? Chen Xian, who was filled with anger, stabbed his sword. The dazzling sword light pierced the sky. The pure sword intent was extremely beautiful. In everyone's eyes, the heaven and earth seemed to have lost their color. This stunning sword cut through the netherworld saber light. The few of them finally saw the attacker. It was a man covered in a gorgeous black robe. The chi of the netherworld surged around him, making him look like a demon. "Who are you? Did you kill my subordinates?" Chen Xian asked coldly. The man raised the short saber in his hand and said, Underworld, King Biancheng. Chapter 934. Mansion of the Dead? What kind of force was that? It was definitely an extraordinary force to have a Tongxian realm expert, but they had never heard of it. Did you kill my men? Wuma Yuanjia asked coldly. Yes, Hateful Blade admitted right away. Wuma Yuanjia's face darkened. Die. Black water appeared in front of him, and the boundless black water vital qi turned into a huge whirlpool, swallowing everything like a black hole. At the same time, the ground glowed with green light. Huge trees rose from the ground and turned into countless tentacles that grabbed at Hateful Blade. Wuma Yuanjia had cultivated both the water and wood laws of heaven and earth. Chen Xian unsheathed his sword and was about to attack, but Hateful Blade said to Old Man Qiao, Are you going to just stand there and watch? Someone asked me to hunt down the experts of the two dynasties, so your Thunderflame dynasty should do the same. Old Man Qiao hesitated for a moment, then stood in front of Chen Xian. Are you really going to stop me? We're just doing our own thing. The surrounding Sky Origin Realm experts stepped back. The battle between the four Tongxian Realm experts could break out at any time, and they didn't want to get involved. Just as the four of them were confronting each other, a figure appeared in the Nether Temple outside the sacred city. The figure looked exactly like Leng Shiqi. His real body couldn't appear here at this time. It was just a doppelganger. He opened the door, looked at the tombs and murmured, It's time for you to see the light of day again. In the Zhuge family, Zhuge Yin and Zhuge Pu were kneeling on the ground. Similarly, Leng Shiqi's doppelganger struck out countless spells to connect the stars. Every star had an expert of the Zhuge family in deep slumber. It's finally time for the stars to shine again. In the far north wastelands, countless demon beasts gathered together. At the front, 3 people looked out of the wastelands, their eyes full of killing intent and desire. Another doppelganger of Leng Shiqi suddenly appeared near them. The Saint City has appeared. Now more than 90% of the Heaven Origin Realm cultivators on the continent have entered the Saint City. The Thunderflame dynasty has also transferred all their forces to the Starfall dynasty. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Demon Venerable Wind-Splitting laughed wildly. Children, let's fight our way out. All of a sudden, thousands of demonic beasts rushed towards the Northern Wei dynasty, like a tidal wave. The human race had set up 2 barriers to guard against the demon race in the Northern Wastelands. The first barrier was the Imperial Beast Lodge and the Blood Beast Sect. The second was the Northern Wei Empire. Due to the appearance of the sacred city, most of the experts in the world had gone to Lingbei County. Only the Northern Wei dynasty had the fewest people because they were afraid that the demons would take advantage of this time to invade. The Northern Wei Empire had even mobilized 100,000 soldiers to guard the northern border. Coupled with the presence of 2 top sects, it would be difficult to break through these 2 barriers unless the demons came out in full force. However, on this day the demonic beasts really came out in full force. The first to bear the brunt were the Imperial Beast Lodge and the Blood Beast Sect. If the demonic beasts hated ordinary spirit cultivators, then they hated the people of these 2 sects 1,000 times, 10,000 times. For thousands of years, these 2 sects had been capturing and killing countless demonic beasts. They wished that they could tear all the disciples of these 2 sects into pieces. The 3 demon venerables acted separately. Demon Venerable Windsplitting led several demon kings and tens of thousands of demonic beasts to attack the Blood Beast Sect. In recent years, the Blood Beast Sect had been declining day by day. Last time, in the Northern Wei Empire's myriad spirit gathering, they had lost a Sky Origin Realm expert, including an expert like Xiepingyu. After that, the Blood Beast Sect had been suppressed by the Imperial Beast Lodge. Sect Master Situ Huanchu's hair had turned white in the past 10 years. It was obvious that his life was not easy. This time, when the sacred city opened, the 2 sects did not send many people. Their Blood Beast Sect only sent a Sky Origin Realm expert. Not only did they have to guard against the invasion of the demonic beasts, but they also had to guard against the Imperial Beast Lodge. On this day, Situ Huanxu was dealing with the sect's affairs. Suddenly, An earth-shattering beast roar resounded through the sky. Even the ground trembled a few times. Immediately after, countless demonic beasts roared continuously. It was so loud that even the deaf could hear them. Situ Huanxi was shocked. In a flash, he arrived outside the sect. What he saw was a dense group of demonic beasts charging at him with scarlet eyes. Above the group of demonic beasts, there were more than 10 demonic beasts in human form. They were all level 7 demonic beasts. The most terrifying one was the burly man in the lead. His demonic chi was almost solid. Just one look from him was enough to make Situ Huanxi's breathing stop. That was a level 8 demon venerable. On the other side, Nineleaf personally came to the Imperial Beast Lodge. When she was transcending her tribulation in the demonic Miasma mountain range, the Blood Beast sect Xiepingyu and the thousand-legged beast King Nanmen Yun of the Imperial Beast Lodge went to capture her. As a result, her newly cultivated level 7 demonic body was destroyed. When Lung Shiqi came to the Northern Wei Empire to participate in the Myriad Spirit Gathering, he secretly helped Nineleaf get rid of the Blood Beast sect Xiepingyu. Now the only enemy left in Nineleaf's heart was the Imperial Beast Lodge. And this time, only Nineleaf was attacking the Imperial Beast Lodge. One person was more than enough to deal with them. A level 8 demon venerable descended. That majestic demonic chi swept through heaven and earth. The wind and clouds changed. Within 1,000 miles, it was filled with a terrifying demonic wind. Nineleaf didn't say anything and directly revealed her demon venerable true form. The several hundred feet soul-leaving scorpion was as terrifying as a black cloud. She opened her bloody mouth and released a formless sound wave. In an instant, all the disciples in the Imperial Beast Lodge couldn't help but cover their ears. Before they knew what was happening, they were already bleeding from their 7 orifices and died. Wisps of souls floated out and were all sucked into her mouth. In just a few blinks of an eye, there were only a few dozen people left in the huge Imperial Beast Lodge. The lowest cultivation of these people was at the unity of heaven and man realm. Only this realm could barely hold on. As for the remaining people, they were all seriously injured. Nineleaf saw a familiar figure in the crowd and smiled eerily. Nanmen Yun, do you still remember me? You're that soul-leaving scorpion? Nanmen Yun recognized Nineleaf, and his eyes almost popped out. Not only did that great demon who had self-detonated back then not die, but it had also become a level 8 demon venerable, and came to seek revenge. Other than Nanmen Yun, there were 2 other heavenly origin realm cultivators in the Imperial Beast Lodge. They said in shock and anger, "You actually provoked such a terrifying enemy for the sect. The sect has been destroyed. How are we going to explain to our ancestors?" Enough. So what if it's a demon venerable? It's not like there aren't any demon venerables in the extreme northern wastelands. Soul-leaving scorpion. Don't you think that silver-winged demon venerable and wind-breaking demon venerable haven't attacked the Imperial Beast Lodge and Blood Beast sect for so many years? Is it because they're not strong enough? It can be said that as long as any one of them comes, they can easily destroy the Imperial Beast Lodge like you. But what about after that? Only destruction awaits your demon race. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.